Vietnam.
I love how that. So, by the way, we're live now.
Oh, great!
I love how we started. So there I was, Vietnam. Perfect way to start.
I deny everything I just said.
No, don't worry. We weren't live until Cam said. So there I was, Vietnam. We weren't live.
Okay.
I could not have timed that better.
Technically supposed to be no shit. There I was, knee deep in grenade pins.
Okay, so just for clarification, I was never in Vietnam.
No, you're not.
I know I sound old and I feel old, but I'm not that old.
Yeah.
What? You never been to Fort Bragg?
No, I've been to Fort Bragg. That was where I had my first.
Well, isn't that little Vietnam?
I mean, okay, so when I was at Fort Bragg, this was back in 2014, I think.
Okay.
I was there with my reserve unit, and the whole time we were there, which was about 2 weeks, the whole time we were there, we kept getting told it's gonna rain. We're gonna have some really horrible storms in the middle of summer. So it's like, we're expecting some pretty nasty storms. Fucking lovely days of a bit warm, like it's like 80 90 degrees here, sunny out, a little bit of cloud cover here and there, but by and large some nice summer days, except for the fact that we're running around in full battle rattle every day. But that aside, great days up until we're getting ready to leave. We're packing up all of our shit, we pack up all of our gear, we pack up all of our tents. We're literally just waiting for the bus to come over and grab us. And of course, that's when it goes no fucking rain.
Yep.
And not like a light little like sprinkling, but like the kind of rain where like you go outside for 5 seconds, you're already fucking drenched.
Yeah. We had one of those like.
Yeah.
We had a 5 minutes shower here in New York a few days ago. I think it was on Saturday.
I hope your showers are more than 5 minutes.
No. Like it was like God was just taking a bucket and just pouring it over the city. It was. You went outside for a second and you were drenched. You had to change clothes wet.
Yeah.
Good times.
You know what's not good times? Having that situation happen to you when you're at a football game in December.
Yeah.
That is not good times.
Yeah.
It's like it's raining, it's almost freezing, not quite. But at that point, when you're so wet and it's below, 30-something degrees anyways, it doesn't matter if it's freezing or not, because you're going to be freezing your ass off in that drenched, ice-cold clothes.
The wind chill of being wet.
And then you're sitting there because, you're at a stadium. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Being wet and cold sucks, but there's a chance that given the right things that you do, you can warm up that wet layer a little bit. But wind chill, that I've discovered personally in my life, wind chill is the absolute worst, because there's almost like, if you're stuck in that situation, there's almost nothing you can do. Like it's gonna zap you to the core no matter what.
I mean, the way to fight it really is just, I guess, to be active and moving. That way, friction keeps it warm.
Okay, jumping jacks, bitches.
Yeah, right. Just like, hey, there's people behind you at the stadium. Screw them. I need to keep warm.
Cam, your little story there and talking about waiting, I gotta be honest, man. The Army has waiting around down to a science, and they are the worst practitioners of it. I've had to spend time waiting with the Marines, with the Air Force, in the Navy, but oh God, dear God, the Army is just like, oh, here's an empty field. Okay, everyone sit in this field for the next 4 hours. Don't move.
I'll regale you with one of our cadence calls. They say that in the Army, you'll always be on time. They wake you up at 4 and make you wait around till 9.
Yep.
That's about right to me.
Oh Lord, I want to go. They won't let me go.
Yeah, I remember specifically sitting I was completely kitted out for a parachute jump, so I'm wearing all the gear, and this was a combat equipment jump, so it's not just, you're wearing a parachute and a little, kit bag to put the parachute in when you land. Now you've got full battle rattle, so your total all up weight when you stand on the ground is 360 pounds. You got a rucksack in between your legs. You got weapons strapped to your side, and everything's cinched down tight. So it's not like you can just relax. It's you're being crushed. And they had us sit in an open field for 4 hours in complete gear, like just you're basically just laying on your back almost, but you can't because the parachute, is on your back. So you're like half reclined, but not in a comfortable way. And the sun was just beating down, and we were just like, fuck this world. But anyways, Star Citizen.
Yeah, Star Citizen Gaming. Right, podcast. We can talk about this later, I guess. Yeah, that. So you actually watched Star Citizen live? Because I forgot there was one last week, so they didn't do an Inside Star Citizen last week. You said you wanted to talk about the loot stuff from the lockers.
Okay.
The inventory lockers.
So I didn't get the whole show, but there's one specific point I wanted to get on, which was a question was asked about it initially started off this way. The question was asked about the user interface, and are they going to implement a faster, easier method of essentially restocking your person after death. So you get back to your hab or whatever it is, wherever you have all your gear, and you open up your inventory, and you currently got to go through the whole process of scroll, find, click, move over, scroll, find, click, move over. Okay, now put this one individual piece on this. 4 hours later, you're like, okay, guys, I'm ready to come back in the battle. It sucks. So that was the question. And the response that they gave is no, they're not going to change. They're not going to go to a preset where you basically say, I want to wear this, and this, and you just go back and hit a button and boom, you're instantly done. But what they did say,
I always want to wear an Orc-X helmet and full suit, and you can just click a button, and if you have one available, it'll just throw it on. They're not going to do that.
Or you can have you have 3 slave slots, like a preset slots, and you make the slot, and you essentially have these slots pre-made. You just click on to put all that gear on, and when they run out, you have to remake them again. But at least this way, you have slots that you can, or presets that you can make.
So they don't want to do that, and they're not going to do that. But what they are going to do is they want to have wherever your storage facility, and I'm putting quotes around that, and insert whatever terminology you want there. Your hab or your hangar, or maybe on your ship. I don't know, because they didn't specify this. But essentially, wherever that location is, you go back to that location. What they want to have is an armor locker that you load out specifically with what you want to wear. So when you come, let's say you die and you come back to that location, you won't be able to re-equip everything that you had on before, but whatever you had pre-staged in that armor locker will essentially be like a set that you can put on very quickly, is what they imply.
So
they didn't specify exactly how it's going to happen. But to me, so that's what was in the actual show. Now, what I thought after hearing that, to me, I understand the thinking behind what they're doing, but I think it's still to me that seems like 5 steps harder than just saying what Cam was kind of pointing out, which is why not just have a preset that you can actually, when you go to that locker, you've rigged out a preset, and it allows you to select if you have those items in your inventory, storage inventory, to just load out with that preset. To me, it's like they're going one more step.
They're going to the point of it being too.
Yeah.
What's the right word? Too not grueling, but too monotonous in terms of they're making it difficult for the sake of it being difficult, not for the sake of realism. Because their whole mentality is supposedly, again, we go to realism and we pull it back to where it's fun. this is not where it's fun. And,
Yeah.
understanding that we still need to have that realism aspect. It's not all going to be fun, but we need to have something more than just every single time you want to move something. It's just
It
you
becomes
dragging the
tiresome, like,
individual item. Because it's like, let's say if I were to go and say, I'm going to go and get a C2 Hercules, and I'm just going to fill it up with all. You know, I'm literally just going to fill it with my favorite armors. If I have to go and drag 100 fucking sets of torso armor over there, or 100 sets of helmets, and then when I arrive, I have to drag all those fucking back, I'm going to lose my goddamn mind. Like, that's ridiculous.
What we want you to do is have to go down into the cargo hold and search through each box until you find the box that has the one that you want.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, and now that being said, I want the option to be able to do that. But I want that to because it's like if you had one box that you opened it up and you put whatever custom shit you wanted in there, sure, that's great. I want that as an option. But I also want the option to be able to go and manage things on a larger scale to the point where, like I said, it can't be tedious. That was what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
They're making this shit way too tedious, and there does need to be some amount of realism here for what they're going for. But it still needs to be fun. And right now we're way too far on the tedious side and not nearly enough on the fun side.
So here's an idea, and tell me what you think of this. That I think might kind of meet in the middle for what they want and what I think we as players kind of want. What if, because I think what they want is they don't want somebody to come running back in, click a button, boom, you're loaded out, turn around, run back out the door and go, go pew pew.
Yeah, and I'm fully with that. Yeah.
So yeah, I understand that they're wanting to limit that. So what if we were to have a system where you can set up a pre-configured array of how you want to be loaded out, and as long as it's in your inventory or in that storage, it loads it. If it's not in the inventory, it just leaves it as a blank spot where that's where you would go back
it'll be like
and add those extra items.
It'll be like when you're reloading a gun. Oh, you have no extra magazines to reload this gun.
Let me finish the thing, and then we can jump in all over it. But when you click that button in order to satiate, I can't think of a better word right now, satiate CIG's, not wanting you to be too quick. Maybe have you go into an animation that lasts, I'm just going to pick a random time here, but, maybe it takes you 2 minutes to get fully kitted out. And essentially your character.
Item.
Right. And essentially your character goes through that animation sequence of reaching in, grabbing that item and putting it on, reaching in, grabbing it and putting it on. Then, after that, let's say, each item takes a certain amount of time. So after that loadout requires 2 minutes. So after 2 minutes, boom, your character's ready to go. Now he can step back out the door. Like, I think that would kind of meet in the middle.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea, and I kind of like the idea of that kind of if you're pulling items straight from, let's say if you're like in your hangar and you go and you hit, hey, I want to just be, I'm not pulling shit from a pre-state, let's say if I have a large box, it's like, here's my loadout box, and I go and I stage these ahead of time that it has my full armor set, my weapon, my ammo, my attachments, whatever else, so I can just, I could just run to that, grab my shit, and that'll be quick, relatively speaking. But if I'm pulling it straight from storage, nope, that's going to go and take a bit longer for my character to go and equip that because I haven't already gone and staged the gear. I think that'd be perfectly reasonable.
And another big one to me is that I didn't like is that they want these. They didn't come out and say it exactly, but it was kind of implied in the way that they answered. Is that they want these lockers to be essentially part of the physical structure of wherever that storage space is at. And to me, I would be okay with that, but what I really want is, if you're going to go the physicality route of that locker is a physical location that can't move, I want that pallet that I can put a locker onto and place that pallet in cargo places.
Yes. Well, and I think we will get something like that just because we're already going to be getting in 317 the handheld boxes, and we'll be able to go and like take those into a location, throw shit in there, put that back on our ship. So it would just be either several of those on some kind of a pallet or a larger variant of those. Because I could definitely see, hey, if I'm going to an entire base, like the base we saw in the Pyro mission last SitCon. If I was going in there and I was intending to just loot the fucking place and everything that wasn't nailed down, I'm gonna grab. I'm just gonna go in there and shoot the place up. Let's say they're all bad guys already. So I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna fucking take everything. Having in my 400i just a large like two SU by 2 SU crate, and I just go and throw all the shit in there. Why the fuck not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so Camp, you're familiar with what an ISU 90 is, right?
A what?
Those military cargo boxes.
Oh yeah,
essentially like but the mini ones, they're almost like just a square cube. They're about a hand span apart on each side and stand about 6 foot. Yeah, that's basically what I want as a mobile locker.
Yeah, no, I think we will get something along those lines because just the boxes we're already getting, coupled with the cargo system refactored to where cargo will be physicalized, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't. Now, that's not to say they might not go and do something like that, but
yeah. But that was my big takeaway from the ISC. I mean, there was some other stuff that or CS Live. There was some other stuff that they went over, but I kind of glazed over parts of that. But to me, that specific question and the way they answered it kind of made me cringe because
it felt weird. It felt like they were either going off in a weird direction or they didn't communicate that direction effectively. Just something.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. Like this is iteration 1 where they've gone too far in one direction, and then we'll probably 2 to 3 patches
and it's better that way.
Iterations, we'll see them dial it back.
And it's better that way because we're making a simulator. Well, they're making a simulator. They want to go full, like as realistic as possible, and then dial it back for fun.
I understand you, Mando. You're going robot.
Am I?
You need to download more internet.
Hold on.
Oh no.
Yes.
Posted a picture of the ISU 90 in the Discord.
Oh,
thanks. So you
so I can put it on the stream for people, so visual context is no, I was saying that it's good that they're doing it though, because I'd rather have them be full realistic and then dial it back for fun. Versus the other way around, because when you do it the other way around, it feels artificial. Here, at least, first off, there's a methodology and process behind it. But
does that
also
downloading more internet?
When you make it, when you gamify it first, and then you try and make it realistic, that means implementing rules after people have gotten used to it, and that's always more painful than implementing the rules, then letting people relax from those rules.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Versus having the going realistic and then dialing it back down for fun. You get to relax. You start off with the stricter thing and
there is no fun here.
I have a.
Are we talking about Star Citizen?
Yeah, well, obviously.
But yeah. What else? Just trying to think of other things that I've heard recently.
I mean, you're absolutely right though. With
one thing to note in terms of the looting and that kind of stuff. So, for anyone who's not already keyed in on the changes that are going to be coming with it, so about like approximately half of all armor and weapons currently in game, especially the heavy shit, like sniper rifles, heavy armor, light machine guns, that kind of stuff, are going to go and be just in the loot lists and not in stores. It's probably not permanent, but they want people to be testing that out, so that's what they're going to go and try to push people toward doing. Toward that end, also too, we're going to go and start getting subscriber gear also in the loot list. And they said anything from 2022, anything earlier than 2022, so everything from 2021 and before that, that was subscriber gear, is going to be in the loot lists just to begin with here, starting 3/17. That being said, after that, so everything from 2022 and moving forward here, we're going to go and get a 3-month, so essentially a 1/4 exclusivity for subscriber gear. So subscribers get it first, and then the patch after that, it gets added to the loot list for people to go and find. Now, in that note, one person was saying they were in a cave somewhere. I don't know which cave it was specifically, but they were going and just exploring. They found a crate, and in that crate, they found about 27K worth of Haydenite just sitting in the crate. So there's going to be more than just armor and weapons apparently in the loot list. There's also going to be raw minerals and stuff that's going to actually go and get us.
What the hell?
What the hell?
No, the stream said it just got
What does that
disconnected,
look like?
but we're fine. Okay. False alarm.
Is it because you need to download more internet?
It does seem like something's up with my internet, but I don't know what.
I mean, you sound a little bit better right now.
Well, that's because I just left Discord and re-entered, and that seems to fix everything regarding Discord.
Well, no, you were still pretty much the exact same up until about like 20 seconds ago.
Yeah, you're pretty robotic there for a while.
You quitting and rejoining had no effect.
Really? That's... Alright, so I'm gonna have to... I'm not gonna see if my roommate did anything to you.
So, one thing I did hear related to what Cam brought up is that some people are theorizing that because of the changes they're making to the availability of the subscriber flare items going in, that most likely, the theory is most likely we're going to see a lot less individual items as flare, as subscriber items. And what you're probably going to start seeing is more things like colors, specific paint patterns, things like that. Things that aren't physicalized but can still be given out as kind of a gift. That's one floating around right now.
I hope not, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Though, one thing to also means too, if they're like, hey, we've come up with some great ideas for armor in the PU or for Squadron 42 or whatever else, they can throw it in as a subscriber gear, knowing that it's going to relatively quickly now make its way into the main game.
Yeah.
So, which would also mean that, oh, hey, we made, 2 or 3 color variants of this one armor that we, let's say we had it for Squadron 42, and then boop, okay, now it's actually in the PU, and we had an excuse now to really to get it into the wider PTU, but generate some extra cash flow for those who want it permanently as well.
Yeah. No, I don't see any negatives with what they're doing with that. I think it's a good step myself.
Now, one thing I'm wondering is, are we going to get stuff like the Helva helmet and undersuit, like from the Mantis pre-order, stuff like that?
Like all the weird alien stuff, or like the Tafaran armor from the Prowler.
Yeah, exactly. Or, for example, the Van Duel mask from the Halloween event. And
yeah, I don't know.
Or the teddy bear helmets, because those were on website only. So.
I would love to see. So I will hope that we'll get some of that kind of shit also, because right now all we've got confirmation on is subscriber gear. That's all they've said.
And subscriber gear means
But
just the stuff from subscribers that subscribe once a month, a monthly fee to get these items in a ship. So stuff like the Nerf gun, I think the outlaw, like that special outlaw armor that looked like it was welded together.
Yep, I forgot what the
that
name
leather
of
armor that Call Sign really likes.
Yeah,
because it is really cool.
Zalian, whatever.
I don't remember.
Yeah, like Tehachapi and something else.
Something like that.
But stuff like that.
I'm hoping some of that other shit will also get put in the leveled lists too. But we'll have to see.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, the Nerf gun one is probably the most value, just because the Nerf gun adds a lot of game to Armistice Zone area.
Yep. But I will say just on that kind of stuff and their reaffirmation of it, I do like the direction they're going in that, just in general.
Yeah, I agree. It's the right direction to go for the community and allowing everyone access, maybe not all at the same time, but over time, everyone can get their stuff in game, and it drives people to go in game, which is so that's win-win.
Yeah.
Or like, for example, if they were to go and be like, oh yeah, hey, you can get the Calva armor and suit now. Hey, I would love to be having that shit, right?
So for anyone who's not knowledgeable, what is that set?
So that set is the set that, at least up until previously, was only available through ordering, or when the Mantis ship first went up. It included a special opaque helmet and undersuit that was custom just to it, and at least thus far has not been made available after that.
I believe you can get you can actually see, if you go to the security station, like the docking areas around the orbital station, such as like Everest Harbor or Bajini Point around Hurston and Harcourt respectively. The guards, I believe, are wearing that helmet. So if anyone's just playing a game you've never seen this helmet before, I believe they're wearing the helmet we're talking about. But the undersuit, yeah, no, I don't think there's I think I may have once found a loot crate, but honestly, I might be confusing it with the one that we all got for free, because they're both white.
Yeah,
they're both like a white and black pattern suit. I don't remember if it was the Mantis one or if it was the Lamont. I think it was the Lamont. That's not the Mantis one. I don't know. I'll have to check again. But yeah, anyway, they're gonna add stuff like hopefully they'll add stuff like that into the loot generation system I have going. But for now, it's just subscriber items. So think unique variants of the guns that are already in the game, the Nerf guns, unique armor variants like the Rust Society Venture armor from years back, stuff like that.
Good stuff.
Yep. Also, I do have a list, by the way, since Alpha 317 is now in open PTU. So for anyone who wants to test the waters a bit, Alpha 317.0 is in PTU, open to all backers. So anyone can jump into PTU right now and test Alpha 317. It is still very much, shall we say, in its growing pains. It is not really in a good state right now. It's still very much a PTU build, nowhere near live ready. But I have a list here of all the new ships they added in game that are now purchasable in game, such as the Cutlass Steel for 1.35 million credits. That's pretty cheap for a ship. That's pretty cheap. The 400i is now purchasable in game. The Redeemer, the Spartan, the Raft, the Hover Quad, the Ares, Ion, and Inferno, and the A2.
Oh, speaking of hover stuff, apparently now you can actually hover over water too.
Yes,
so that's a bonus for the hover bikes.
And I believe that is not just the river. I think that also goes for the oceans on Hurston.
I believe so, yes.
So, something that we've tried to do in the past and failed and just exploded because mechanics weren't in there yet. They are now in. We can now drive over ocean, any body of water.
With a hover vehicle.
With a hover vehicle, yes. Well, also the fact that now you can try driving with your regular vehicle and you won't die anymore. At least spontaneously, you won't just die by touching the water because now you can just stand in the water. If you're wearing a suit, you should be fine. I don't know if the ground vehicles can go in the water without exploding though. I'll have to see if someone tested that, or I'll test it myself once the patch goes live. As of right now, yeah, hover bikes can drive over water, and if you're in a full, just helmet and undersuit, you can go underwater and you'll be fine. Progress.
What could possibly go wrong?
The hover quad's 88,000 credits, by the way, in game. The Raft is 1.85 million. Spartan is 255,500. The most expensive on this list is the Redeemer, and then the 400i, then Ares.
Oh, Redeemer! I barely know her.
Well, you better.
Oh no.
Also, PTU weekend playtest stress test with Jumptown and Ninetales. Apparently, this weekend they might run a 2-hour playtest to stress the servers and streaming updates for everything is well for 3.17. This will include about 2 hours of Jumptown on Saturday and 2 hours of Ninetales on Sunday.
Was that last weekend?
I think it was this past weekend. So, but they could do it again this coming weekend. But they'll make an announcement if they do. All I know is that I don't think this patch is going to go live this week. Although they could easily surprise us. I think it's going to be.
You were thinking again? How could you?
Yeah, that explains the fires, actually.
I don't think you're authorized to do that. Oh, one thing I want to throw out there is if anyone's interested in kind of like the technical side of Star Citizen, I would recommend checking out Astropub's Captain's Table from this last weekend.
Oh, yeah.
He's got Ray's Guide and Space Coder, who are both very technically knowledgeable individuals who try and dumb things down so it makes sense to the rest of us lab rats. And I think it's somewhat informative. Probably worth checking it out if you're interested in the technical stuff.
But wait, are they technically knowledgeable or are they technically knowledgeable?
Both squared. But yeah, they mainly they're talking about like server integration and meshing and stuff like that. So good info if you're interested.
Ada, I believe you're the only one here who's actually played the PT. How is?
Yeah, so OpenPTU feels a lot more stable than the last time I tried it in Wave 1. I didn't do any Wave 2. I did one experiment with refueling. The UI and the HUD is interesting, but it's not terrible. I think controlling the fuel speed is a little difficult to get precise right up towards the edge, but other than that, I thought it was pretty good. I did run into a bug where somehow after the refueling was complete, the guy in the Starfare hit abort to disconnect us, and then somehow, I guess the game thought we were still one entity, so I had no collision with the Starfare anymore. I could just fly right through it, and I took no damage from any of the guns because the lasers went right through me, and vice versa. I couldn't do any damage to the Starfare either, so that was.
So you found the meta phasing field technology, whatever, from Star Trek, whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, we basically got put in
the
in
Federation
different
cloaking
dimensions.
device.
I'm just curious, Data. When was this experience with the refueling? How long ago?
Yesterday, last night.
Yesterday. Okay.
So
The
recent
only
build.
reason I'm asking is I heard that I heard yesterday that like maybe 2 days prior they had made some more changes to the refueling. So that was the reason I was asking. But it sounds like you're up to date. So
Yeah, I'll definitely be testing it some more, probably today sometime.
gotcha.
But I will say that performance for me across the board is better everywhere.
Oh
Of
yeah.
course, that's still PTU side. We'll have to see how it goes once it actually hits live, because there's
True.
usually a performance decrease going.
And it is probably due to the part that more people are now using. So because not everyone, like, how many people play the PTU compared to how many people play the live build?
Well, generally, all the PTU servers that I got on were mostly full.
Okay.
And I think it's just a consequence of there being less PTU servers available, so people get grouped together more often.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see.
Yep.
Obviously making improvements slowly but surely.
That starts with this in a nutshell, slowly but surely.
Yeah.
There's never going to be a time where we get a patch and everybody's like, oh, well, this is what it was supposed to be. It's never going to reach that point. It's always going to be small incremental increases in performance and gameplay until
Of
we
course.
get to the end goal.
How dare you, sir? How dare you?
I hear glass breaking in the background. Okay.
Wait, is that Chris Roberts? No.
Hey kids, want to buy some spaceships?
But yeah, I mean, they're making improvements, but this is still working out to be one of the longer PTU cycles.
Yeah. Usually they're back a week or two long. Here, this is like 1 more month or so long.
Well, what's odd was how fast they went from Wave 2 to
Open. Yeah.
all.
Wave 2 was what, like 2 days ago or so?
It was literally 2 hours.
Well, I got a theory on that. I think because I think the reason I think we're possibly seeing that, and I think we might start seeing that more often, is because this is the first patch that we're really starting to get some of the background quanta / economics stuff going, and I think they need larger testing groups to generate the larger data sets for that stuff to really be viewable as, hey, how is this actually affecting the whole system?
Agreed. From what I know about Tony Z's quanta and quasar simulation technologies that they're working on, the back end side of stuff, it's a statistics game, so more means better, and that means more people to play and give more statistics and more feedback and data for them, the better.
Well, that may be, but my read on the situation was that they need more people to test the streaming changes that they made, because that was the big hang up in Wave 1. They made the underlying streaming changes, which I think are going to help performance overall in general, but it basically bricked Wave 1 PTU for like 4 or 5 days for most people, because
I heard about that.
Wouldn't load in the server.
Nice.
And then once they fixed that, then they went really quickly from wave 2 to open. So I think they just need more people in the server to stress it to see where things are breaking that they still need to fix before they can go
Yeah,
live.
which is why I think this past weekend they did that jump town and nine tail stress tests, because they just need to do exactly that, stress test the server, see what they can do, what they can't do, work from there.
They need numbers to generate numbers.
Yes.
Yep.
For anyone that's interested in like trying to see how the background quanta economics is working, my understanding is if you take the AI generated like fighter requests to fend off pirates, the ones that are coming in with a very specific payout, you'll see like 1,935 credits, like really odd numbers. My understanding is that's what's being handled right now or generated right now through that economic system. And so if you can get enough people together to actually respond to those, you may be able to actually see a direct result in a variation of those prices, depending on
Interesting.
how much you're impacting it. If you want to self-test.
Yeah, that would be cool to have a group of people do that.
Nice.
Yeah. But as far as I know, that's the only real, like, visible implementation that we have from the player side.
I think they said, I could be wrong about this, but I think they said that equipment selling was also going to be handled, or the prices would be modified by the Quanta system. So if you have a whole bunch of people selling gear at a specific location, that the price that the station is willing to offer you for that gear will go down.
Okay. Yeah, I'm interested in seeing how it goes, and it's right now. I've heard some other creators, content creators starting to talk about it, and this is what has kind of got me thinking down this path. But what we're seeing right now is definitely phase 1, and 99% of it is facing back at CIG, and there's very little knowledge that we can gain of what's actually going on. So it's those little places like what I just described and what Data was talking about with selling the items are kind of the only places that we can see what our results are or see how our interactions are going. But what I'm hoping is that, iteration 2 or 3, we might start to see some mobiGlas kind of like places you can go in your mobiGlas just to like pull up like, hey, what's the price of such and such, and be able to see it maybe listed by station, and then you can choose like, well, I want to go to that station because the price is lower over there, or the price is higher if I'm selling.
So the start of that real-time data display that they want to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be awesome to have like a real-time market window in the mobiGlas, so you can see different commodity prices at the known locations.
It would be cool to not even just a mobiGlas, but at locations too, like on a station. Cause say you're just imagine you're walking by and you see you're at the business district at Lorville, or you're at a TDD at like RCorp or whatever, and you see, oh, hold on, the sale or whatever is this. Now all of a sudden you're like, hey, I want to go and do this thing, and it gives you a reason, incentive, a gameplay incentive.
I see.
Just from
this is just my own personal opinion, but I see that as kind of like the tier 3 in my mind. Like we got tier 0 right now, and then tier 1 is they kind of they broaden out what's going on, but we're still not seeing what's happening. And then tier 2, I'd like to see things like what's the cost of fuels, what's the cost of repairs, what's the cost of rearmaments. So when you're flying around, you can bring up the gas prices and the rearmament, that kind of stuff. And then to me, tier 3 is okay. Now show me the actual like commodities and trading side of it, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. It's right. Obviously, they're just implementing these things now. But it would be cool down the line when these things are better implemented or complete. That's like, hey, every screen is showing some relevant real-time data, not static display screens that essentially mean nothing. You know.
And once they got that, then I don't have to have these constant pop-ups of going, "Hey, do you want to take this? You want to take this?"
Yeah. It'd also be nice if we had an option to just turn that off.
Yeah.
Like, even right now, just give us.
Moby.
Yeah, where it's like constantly like the whatever trade icon popping up on my HUD all the time, like, hey, new sale, whatever, new sale, whatever, new sale. It's like, I don't care.
We know that you're down the gravity well of Crusader, but did you know there's an item over on ArcCorp?
Commodity update.
Yeah. But no, I think it's really interesting what they're showing. The first implementations or iterations of the economic side stuff. That's all I got.
I guess we can talk about the monthly report. A lot of AI stuff. They're gonna have AIs using usables and actually supposedly functioning.
As I heard another content creator say, guys, do you realize they're going to give the AI, the same AI that can only T-pose on benches, are getting carts.
Yep.
The same carts that kill us when they just barely touch us. They're going to be running around with these carts.
So then we can have, the way I'm looking at it, I could finally have someone to joust with. I mean, Data and I were doing all this like shenanigans with the carts when they first were introduced. And we were running over NPCs and watching them glitch out. Now we can do it with the NPCs instead of to the NPCs.
Okay, so if somebody's standing on a cart and being pushed around by another person, can you use your gravity beam to repel them off the cart?
No, you're just fucked.
No.
You might be able to yank the cart out from under their feet, though.
There's another idea.
Depending on the size of the cart.
We got some physics tests.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Let's see how quickly we can break the server. No,
the one thing I'm looking forward to the most out of the 3.17 is the desync, the tighter desync timings. Since I've been getting more and more into racing, the desync issue is the number one cause for collision because you just run into people that aren't there on your screen. So I'm really looking forward and hoping that they can nail down that positional. It's not positional, but it looks positional. It's time desync, but
it's been an issue.
A nice balance between performance and visual quality.
It's been an issue with everything too. Like combat, I've had issues with desync where it's like that guy wasn't there or wasn't even looking in my direction. All of a sudden, I'm dead now.
Yeah,
like his gun didn't even go off.
Even you were talking about pushing the carts, or Cam was like, you get hit with a cart and you die. I think that is partly due to desync because, like on the server, you and the cart merged into the same position at the same time, and the server's like, well, you can't be there. Now you're dead.
Yeah.
So if they can get it right, then hopefully it'll fix that issue also.
I would be wary though of anything that would appear to be a Jesus patch kind of thing, which like I said, just we've seen before to where hey, in PTU it looks like X, but when it hits live it looks like Y instead, and people just hey, what the fuck? This was working perfectly on the PTU servers and now it's not. So just I would be very wary of anything that seems too good to be true patch-wise.
Well, that's why I said I hope, not I expect.
Yes.
I have a dream.
No, we can't do that here.
Carts will be free.
The carts. And hopefully Data and I won't run into each other when we're testing the Cyclone for the race. They're doing a lot of AI stuff with the monthly report here. AI feature team, AI tech team, they're working on everything. they want to have the AI be able to do everything that we can do. So
yeah. Well, I mean, this is a huge step forward to what we've always talked about in the past, which is, we want to see more realistic AI around, moving around the landing zones. And, this is one of the first things that you need is, the AI to not be clipping through things. So,
or just to be moving around, because a lot of the time, like, yeah, you'll have some AI walking here and there, but you really don't have any AI going anywhere, and you never see any AI on, say, like the shuttles or the trains or anywhere like that at the major cities.
Yeah.
Like in
being able to have AI walk onto the train with you, and you're like, I don't know, is that an NPC?
Exactly. It's like essentially giving it more of immersion and more life to the actual game. It improves the experience. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Yeah, all the AI stuff. And the Squadron monthly report is coming out later this week, so I guess we'll cover it next week. Like here, the AI vehicle team, they got they're working alongside AI and behaviors, and they'll benefit both the PTU and Squadron 42. A lot of the stuff is also doubling on Squadron 42 as well, so most of the stuff you're seeing here also pertains to Squadron. They talked about the Scorpius' cockpit being finalized, including lighting and LEDs. The Banu Merchantman progressed through the exterior R&D phase. 3 unannounced vehicles are now close to being final art complete. That means we have 3 unannounced vehicles, unknown vehicles that we don't know anything about, are now almost final art complete. That's...
You mean 3 vehicles you don't know about? I mean, what?
I like that, honestly.
Yeah.
I get tired of them constantly letting us know what's coming through the pipe. I like being
honestly,
surprised,
I like... Yeah, I like being surprised. Even if it's something crappy, at least it's like, okay, it wasn't concept for 3 years where our imaginations blew what this was going to be out of proportion, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's a good thing as well. It's like you guys just said, it cuts down on the dream factor where, they only show you little snippets, and then we all develop kind of like our own image in our head of what it's going to be, and then we get it, and it's not, it only matches 25% of the player's ideas, and the rest of it, the other 75 are like, oh man, this isn't anything like what they showed, And
yeah, like the Carrack or
so.
the Terrapin, as we've gone in depth in the past about. But yeah, the second one of the 3 is in gray box. One of them is entering white box. Drake Vulture is also being moved down the pipeline, doing further art, and the Drake Vulture is also pretty close to being done from the updates we saw.
Supposedly, I haven't looked into it, but somebody was saying that the wording that they're using on the Vulture leaves an opening that there might possibly be some repair included in its capabilities, which would be really interesting.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it does sound like it might be able to do at least some surface level repairs.
That makes sense, considering how the way CIGF describes the whole repair, refuel, and rearms. Salvage is a very key component into that trio of gameplay.
Yeah.
Or the trio is integrated into salvage. Either way, like either or. But it doesn't matter. Like, they're connected in some way. Like those 3 elements of gameplay are connected to salvage. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that because if they do this, it'll be one of the first ships that kind of straddles 2 specialties. Not saying that it's going to do either, it's going to do the repair stuff like Ken was saying, very well or in depth, but still it'll be one of the first times that you got a ship that maybe has multi capability built into it.
Yeah, which is great.
Yeah.
Especially since it's not. Yeah, it's not like, oh, it's comparable to the Anvil. What's the repair one? The one that has a fully
Crucible.
enclosed. The Crucible. Yeah, it's like it's fully comparable to the Crucible. No, this is like, if the Crucible is, repair, say 2, right, or repair 1. This is repair like 0 or repair 0.5 at best, something like that.
Yeah, the Crucible is an interesting one. I've always liked the idea of it. I'm not a fan of the ship model itself. To me, it's a pretty ugly platform.
Yeah,
but
I'm not a huge fan.
It's
either.
one that I've kept an eye on, because if they do it right and they make a halfway decent looking ship, I think it might be one of the.
Well, it's a neat concept, right? It's like, here you can fully enclose and pressurize the ship, the fighter you're repairing inside it.
Yeah, I just the current design concept of like the bridge and the interior structure, and then that
it looks like a
bay just.
No, it looks like a brick with prongs that hold the ship. Yeah, it's not great. That's repairing. I mean, it's holding the ship that we're going to repair. It has like 2 prongs that hold it. It has the enclosed space, and then it's like a brick on top of that. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
But the concept of it is cool.
The bridge on it just looks like a frisbee disc that's kind of.
Hopefully they give it a bit more, like, since obviously it was made before they had the established Anvil design language they have now. So.
Yeah.
Hopefully they improve upon it instead of kind of giving it the same level of care that the Terrapin and Carrack had received. There is a trend there, both Anvil ships, so hopefully it gets the better end of the deal. And like Carrack and Terrapin did. Only time will tell.
Yep. But anywho, I didn't mean to
no, it was
take
relevant.
us down the rabbit hole. But yeah, I think it's interesting about the salvage and possible repair for the Vulture.
Let's see. The community team started in March, debriefing Alaska's. So that's just a roundup of everything that's happened. Yeah, so they got the infographics, how much work players put into defending the stand system, talk about all the events that happened. In preparation of Alpha 3.17, they published 2 patch watch comm links featuring details of lesser known upcoming features, including the weapons refactor and Quantum, which is simulation tech. Getting its first tier 0 implementation, a fraction of systems, backend system implementation of. The community also published a step-by-step guide on ship-to-ship refueling.
One quick interruption there, Mando, if I could.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just curious. I just had this thought with us talking about the Vulture and the salvaging stuff. I'm just curious, Data Machine, based off of your experience with the refueling mechanics that they're currently putting in, do you think that we will see some kind of salvage system that equates to kind of how you're selling fuel, in the sense of like, hey, I need to hire somebody to come salvage my wreck. What's the price basis kind of concept thing, if I'm making sense in that question?
Yeah, I don't expect it to go that way, really.
Okay.
I don't think it'd be like you hire someone to salvage your ship and it's going to cost you a flat fee. I think it's more. I expect the gameplay to be more like there's a ship out there and you go salvage it, and you incur all whatever cost it takes to do the salvage, and then you can go sell that material, maybe
Okay.
to other players or maybe to a station. But I don't expect that you're going to have the same kind of transaction. There's nothing to stop you from saying, "Hey, I've got a ship here. I'll I will pay you to come take it apart if you give me a percentage of the materials," or something like that. You can make that deal, but I don't expect there to be in-game mechanics that are built
UI.
around that idea. Yeah.
Okay. It was just something that popped in my head. I thought I'd ask it, since we had just come off the topic.
Right.
Sorry,
as far as
No,
once the Crucible comes out and you have ship repair, then possibly It could be like you
Yeah.
pull up and you assess how much damage and this is how much it's going to cost you to repair on the spot, kind of thing. But as
Yeah.
far as just taking a ship apart, no, I don't expect that.
Okay. Answered.
Should be interesting how that's going to work though. Like, you know, the repairing stuff too. Are they going to? I assume they're going to do something similar to the refueling, given how it's part of that same trifecta of game play.
I would be surprised if we saw that with the Vulture, but I do think that we will definitely see it whenever we get the Vulcan coming along.
Yeah. That thing's meant for repairing, refueling, and rearmings. That's the whole tagline for it. That's going to be a fun ship when it comes out. The real question about it when it comes out, though, is will it come out with the drone? Like, what will come first? Drone gameplay and like the ability to use drones, or the Vulcan without the use of? Because
I think they'll need to have the drones because otherwise
it relies on the drones in order to do a lot of its gameplay. The Vulcan.
Yeah.
And if they have the drones by that point, that means that the other ships that are currently in game that use drones will be able to have drones, like the Carrack, the Reclaimer. I'm trying to think what other ships currently in game have drones that it doesn't have drones usable right now, obviously.
Yeah, I can't think of any other ones. But yeah, I know the Carrack's a big one.
And the Reclaimer also.
Oh, possibly. I don't know for sure, but isn't that I can't remember the name of it, but the mine laying ship? I could see that using.
Oh yeah, that's not in game yet though. But yeah, the Nautilus.
Nautilus, yeah, I could see. I don't know if it's designed for it, but I could see that would make sense that you use.
It has got bomb diffusing drones. It's supposed to have
bomb. You guys were talking over each other.
Yeah, Cam, go.
It's already set to have a drone that will be used to disarm and pick up the mines.
Yeah.
Okay.
What they said, so with the Nautilus for that drone, if you go to a system, you drop some mines, and you come back a week later, you're like, nope, all the mines are still here. We didn't get them. Okay, you can use your built-in drone here to go and pick up those mines and put them back in to be reused on the ship. And if I remember right, at least at that point when they were talking about it, they were saying, by the way, other ships that can equip drones, such as the Carrack, could equip one of these mine disarming drones. Just you would then not be able to store the mine unless you were able to there might be some way to go and repack it into a cargo configuration as opposed to a actively armed mine configuration, and then maybe you could put it in a standard cargo grid. But other than that, you wouldn't be able to go and put that mine into storage because you don't have dedicated mine storage on other ships.
I don't think I like that idea.
I like the idea of a standardized drone system.
I mean, they're gonna have
that part. I don't mind. I don't want a demining drone. I need a job for my new guy, my effigy.
Danger Dan.
You know?
we need to send out Danger Dan.
Wait, how come you only gave me 30 minutes of air?
Yeah. he's a keeper. He's survived the last 3 deminings. So welcome to the club.
Well, you guys remember Danger Dan? That's what Danger Dan's for. He's gonna demine the field. Yeah.
But my name's Frank. Shut up, Danger Dan.
Shut up. You're the new Danger Dan. Last one we lost in a black hole.
What happened to the last Danger Dan? Don't ask questions.
Danger Dan and his revved up Cyclone.
But yeah, no, I'm on board with what you're talking about. That totally makes sense.
And you kind of have to, because how many drones you have: repair drones, medical drones, exploration drones, salvage drones. Obviously, the demining drones. They're gonna have so many different types of drones. You have to have a standardized system in place for that. Otherwise, it's gonna be.
What are the 2 ambulance vehicles? Because don't those have a drone?
Apollo does.
The Apollo does.
The medical drone that picks people up. The Cutlass Red does not.
No.
No, I was thinking of the 2 variants of the Apollo.
Yeah, the Apollo and
ambulance,
the
but yeah.
The evac.
So there's more ships, yeah, that'll
Medevac. That's it.
Benefit from whenever we get the Vulcan, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
I don't think I agree that every ship should be able to use every type of drone.
Well, every drone ship.
Like every ship that can use a drone should be able to use every type of drone.
No, I don't think I agree with that.
Well, bear in mind. Well, bear in mind, at least from what they've already said, just because a ship can use a ship with drones can use that drone does not mean you will be able to use it to the full potential. Such as in the case of the Nautilus and laying mines, you can use that drone to disarm mines, and bearing in mind you have now given up one of your very limited drone stocks. So it's not like you're going to have 15 drones and you pull out the ones you need. You're only going to have, like, even the Carrack has 4 drone slots.
I understand what you're saying, but in a lot of ways, I think that detracts from the job that specific ship is built around.
But
what you're talking about sounds a lot to me like the conversations we've had before, where people want their ship to be able to do everything, and
No, I think this is more of a you can make your ship do something it's not meant to do, and it's not going to be as good as it doing something it is supposed to do, but you can still do it. So they're just giving you options. It doesn't mean it's going to be better or it allows you to do something else.
It won't be as good as anything dedicated to it, but you're still going to have the option to do it. But like I said, like even the Carrack, which is kind of a be-all end-all explorer, which would make sense that you have a anti-mine drone equipped on there, right? In case you come across mine space for whatever reason. But guess what? You've now reduced your mining or your drone ability here by 75 or 25% here, and you might not have ever even used this thing, potentially speaking. And also too, that's just to disarm it. You'd still have to. I am assuming with mines in general, they're going to be relatively stealthy. You might go, and unless you're being super careful and super slow, you might go and end up running into the minefield and hitting some of these things. Because otherwise, if they're big, noisy, loud, and easily detectable, no one's ever going to go and get hit by the mines, right? These are things you're going to have to be actively looking for. So even then, unless you are using this thing as a, hey, I don't have a Nautilus, but I want to do anti-mine operations here, the only other option would be, well, to do anti-mine operations, you have to have a Nautilus, which that would kind of stink having it set to, or and maybe there will be another ship down the line, like a Cutlass-sized ship that holds 1 or 2 mines or something like that. But even still, it's stuck where it's like, well, hey, you have to have this one ship to do anything in this field.
Well, that's assuming that there's only one way to take care of a mine, which I don't think it will be.
I think that the problem is we don't know enough of the facts yet, so we're trying to solve a problem when we don't have the full problem
yet.
That's
definitely true. So I reserve the right to change my mind, but at the moment, I think I would prefer the specialty ships to have their specialty drones, and maybe there's a couple of generic ships that have a wider cross section that they can use. But
I think I kind of see both sides. I think I'm leaning towards Cam's side right now, but the thought experiment I would do is flip the idea around. So take Cam's idea, what would a Nautilus with a medical drone do to gameplay? Like, how does that affect that? And I think
it basically breaks the Nautilus's ability to do what it was built to do, right?
Well, no. I guess what I'm saying is, okay, so let's say you take the Nautilus and instead of a mine, the let's call it, for terminology, let's call it the anti-mine drone. Instead of stocking the anti-mine drone because you don't have any mining gameplay planned, you stock it with a let's pick the Vulcan's repair and rearm drone. What does that do to gameplay if you're
Vulcan doesn't
flying
have
around
drones.
with
Or,
that
no, the Vulcan does have
Nautilus.
drones.
I'm sorry?
No, I was like, the Vulcan doesn't have drones, but I was thinking of the Vulture.
Gotcha. So I think that's how I would contemplate the issues. I'm just throwing that.
But I want to be able to see ships having like, hey, you can go and equip. Like for example, hey, I'm in a Carrack, and I want to go and equip a repair, rearm, refuel drone. Cool. One big question to
I think the Carrack
ask.
is kind of a unique item, though. Just throwing that out
sure.
there.
Oh no, you're absolutely right there. What's another ship with drone? Well, let's even say so. Let's take the Vulcan. Hey, I want to go and put on the Vulcan an anti-mine drone.
Yeah.
You can, except if I remember right, it only has 2 drone slots, so you've just given up half of your drone capability to deal with mines, which you may not encounter when you're out there. And now when it's time to do your actual job of that ship, repair, refuel, rearm, you've got 1 drone. Hey, hope nothing happens to it.
Yeah.
That's part of the risk reward.
Yeah, that's I'm definitely leaning towards Cam's side on that one, but that's just me.
If you take the Carrack as the example, the drones, you should be able to see and interact with them inside the repair bay, right?
Yes.
Which presumably means that the drone is going to be interacting with the room that they're in. So if you have a medical drone, it's not going to be able to access, if it doesn't have a specific module that's built for medical gameplay, then to me it doesn't make sense that a medical drone be able to do what it needs to do, because it would need the infrastructure that comes along with the medical ship that's built to use the medical drone in that way.
To use it fully, yes. One thing it might let, and again, we're kind of theory crafting here.
Yeah, we don't really know what a medical drone will do anyway.
But let's say.
Sorry, Cam, just jumping in here. I do think, based on what they have said in the past, specifically about the medical drone, is it was designed to go out and search through wreckage, find bodies, and bring them back to the ship. I don't know of any other special capabilities, but that's only what they've described about the medical drone. So I'm not going to try and apply any of that to the other drones, but
let's say though for. Oh, sorry, go on.
Go ahead. I was pretty much.
You guys are yelling at me.
With the medical drone, it's kind of going getting into the wreck here, grabbing the finding the person, getting them enveloped onto this drone / stretcher kind of thing, and presumably would be delivering the person to either a pickup point on the ship where it's got some special airlock kind of thing where it goes shuttles through, and then the person's on the stretcher, which the medics in the Apollo, that's what it's ideally made for, pick them up moving off to a bed. Whereas if you were to use that on, for example, a Carrack, let's go and say it dumps them into the middle of the drone room to where you've now got someone bleeding out in the middle of your drone room. Now you have to go and haul the person through whatever means you have over to your medical bay. So could you do it? Maybe.
My argument against that is that the way the drone would transfer the body from wherever it's connecting in a medical ship would be different than the way it transfers the body once it loads into, say, the Carrack. The Carrack doesn't have a drone container that was built to transfer a body onto a gurney or something like that.
Oh no, but it does have an airlock that the drones use, and again, we don't know how far they're going to go, so we're all just kind of spitballing here.
Yeah, we're right now. What we're trying to do is we're trying to solve a problem without having all the variables.
Yes, I'm just saying it's theoretically possible that they might go and say, because the drones are all, if they're standardized, they're going to be a somewhat standardized size, presumably. In which case, hey, guess what? You've now got someone bleeding out in the middle of your drone bay. Now you have to go and haul their happy ass over, in the case of the Carrack, haul them over to the medical bay. And that's just the Carrack, to where it would make sense to, hey, okay, I want to have some search and rescue capability there. If you were to do that on the Vulcan, I don't even know that the drones on the Vulcan even go into the pressurized area of the ship. So like with that, maybe you could have it, and maybe
I would have to look at the layout of the ship again.
You can give them further drone support By using your drone control stations. Maybe. We don't know. But
Yeah,
that'd be another option too, is that you can use your drones alongside another ship and essentially just give them more drones in the field doing whatever the thing might be. Might not do it as well, might not be as efficient, but just more at once. Maybe.
still in the middle, but I'm leaning.
Honestly,
And
I
believe
like
Mando has
both.
told us we're stupid twice now.
Yeah, jeez.
I can go with either way, like whether the drones are specialized and only work with X ship, or if they are like a standardized equipment that you can mix and match, but to detriments of the drones or the ship, depending on what kind of mix and match you're making.
Yeah, I'm definitely not
Configuration
for
you're
like
making. That's it.
you mixing and matching drones just automatically gives you 100% capability. That's a no-go for me.
Yeah, no.
I disagree that we'd have that.
No, I'm just saying, like, that's I wouldn't want to see that. But I am for kind of what you're talking about, which is some capability. If you have a drone slot, then you should have some capability with all of them. But definitely, there are, like Mando said, some detrimental effects, or not detrimental, but you're not getting 100% usability out of it.
I would say maybe like a debuff to the drone or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's all I'm saying. Is just it should be an option to have them, but you are as with a lot of this kind of stuff, to where like we've talked before about having modules you might be able to throw into like cargo bays, to where okay, I've got some free cargo space, maybe I can put a lowest tier medical bed in there. But it's going to have a high power draw on top of the ship systems already. It's going to go and give me a larger energy signature. It's not going to be as effective as a dedicated one, but it's going to give me some of that capability there.
Just had an idea.
It's not as good as dedicated, but it gives me something.
I just had an idea.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah, I know. So what about this? To kind of meet in the
get the
middle
fire
of both
extinguisher.
sides of the idea thought experiment that we're doing. What if you cannot swap drone types out of, so in other words, if you've got a ship that's designed to only use medical drones, you can't swap out for the Vulcan or the anti-mining one. But what you can do, let's say you're in your medical ship and you do somehow discover a mine without blowing it up, maybe you can use your medical drone in a very limited capacity, basically fly it over, and maybe there's a percentage chance that you will be able to deactivate it using that medical drone, but it's, you've only got, let's say, 25% chance of success, and there's, some kind of like mini game involved in that process as the operator. And so there's a chance of success, but there's a high chance that you might explode that mine and lose the drone, and or also, depending on how close you are, cause damage to your ship. But there was an opportunity to use any type of drone in a different capacity. So that gives you that, any drone can do anything. It's just some drones are going to be better than others at that specific job. Would that be a
that
viable
defeats
way?
the whole purpose of having different drones in my mind here.
But no, because your medical drone is 100% success whenever you're trying to do medical based stuff with it. But if somebody tries to use an anti-mining drone as a medical drone, there's going to be a very small percentage of success because it wasn't designed for doing it. But you can definitely try.
Well, first of all, I don't want anything to be a percentage chance. I'd rather it be based off of personal skill. I think I understand what you're saying, but I don't like that idea. I would prefer to have ships that are specialized in certain jobs, and then maybe you get a ship that's just a generic drone carrier that's got several different spots that you can carry, and it can use every type of drone. It's got the infrastructure on board for that. I think I would prefer to go that way.
Okay, so data wants it black and white, ones and zeros.
That's right.
On or
Get
off.
locked.
Nah.
Man.
And that's totally fine. Like, that might be what we get too. I don't know. Anywho, I think we killed this horse.
I think we've droned on about drones long enough.
That was punny.
Yes. But yeah, so the monthly reports got some pretty good stuff in it. They talk about working on life support and how they're actually going to have the progress goes well with it. They're actually going to have life support generators that actually remove atmosphere from a room and convert CO2 to O2. I'm just having fun imagining the gameplay related to that.
What could possibly go wrong?
For engineering gameplay, an example scene was created featuring a village with a battery power supply unit post. The goal was to give introduction to other teams to help them be utilizing sources. They also worked on villages themselves, like those outposts and everything. Honestly, this was a really, really packs full of report.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of little things, but none of it is like big and flashy unless you really dig into it and start to realize the wider impacts.
Yeah, I mean, they worked on a salvage hut. That's probably like that's probably the flashiest thing. That and the AI stuff they talked about at the start.
Yeah.
Aside from that, most of it is like smaller stuff that's going to have a huge impact later. But for now, here's that engineering.
Well, yeah, even just that power cell thing. Like, you think about the tree that branches out of that is huge, because that's where we're going to get more dynamic interactions with, like, using hacking keys on just doors, not in the way that we use it now, where it's like only go to this one specific terminal that has coding designed to actually do the animations for that specific hack. Like, what they're working on is you're going to be able to walk up and interact with almost any object.
Yep.
With it. So that's it seems like a little thing, but it has huge long-term ramifications.
Hack your way through the entire game. Put on your Matrix glasses. Start smacking your keyboard and look into the camera, going, "I'm in.
I'm gonna get you, Neo."
Mr. Anderson.
A good time.
But yeah, it's got a lot of stuff, vehicle stuff. They talked about how graphics and how also like how destruction of materials is gonna work. Like how tearing metal and stuff like that. How they want to make it less resource intensive, not loading in like 17 different assets, just that one thing. Which would also be playing into the rune system, like if you blow up the hull breach in your ship, explosive decompression, the metal tearing and ripping like tissue paper from the explosion.
Until it's done?
I'm curious, has anyone heard anything about melting? In other words, seeing damage effects that are equivalent to meltdowns and like in the real world, when a Navy ship burns, a lot of the interior structures nowadays are aluminum, and aluminum has some really bad melting characteristics.
Yep.
That's why fires are like such a big deal. So I'm just curious if anyone's heard anything about them working on melting. I don't know what the proper terminology is, like physics or modeling.
Yeah, that's a tough one, because they would have to have a way to deform the interior of the ship, and those are all.
Yeah.
I mean, the ship is built out of models.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're familiar with 3D modeling, but unless I'm not really sure about the technology, but they're not using voxels, so they would have to have some other way to cause the interior to deform. So it'd be cool to see, but I haven't heard them talking about anything like that
either. And from what little I know about the 3D modeling process, like they would have to make multiple models of melted.
Well, not necessarily.
No, they could have it be melted in real time, but that would be
I'm thinking
insane.
of it kind of like terrain deformation, which for years and years has never been possible, but yet here they are going, oh no, we've designed a toolkit that's going to let us basically do planetary deformation or terrain deformation on the fly.
Yeah, they showed off that grenade launcher.
What they're doing there is they are modifying the height map on the fly.
Okay, gotcha.
A game like Space Engineers is voxel based, which is why they can do the deformation. But Star Citizen specifically did not go the voxel route. But there are other technologies that you can use to deform rigid bodies, which I think they're going to be using on the exterior of ships for damage to some degree. They're looking at it. So I would expect that they would want to have some kind of visual indication of damage on the inside of a ship when there's fire, because it would be very unrealistic if they didn't. But I have not heard any information about that at all.
No, it doesn't mean they're not going to do it. We just haven't heard anything on it because it's probably a lot further down the line, and they may not just know how they're going to go about it yet.
Yeah, and I mean the same thing is true with fires on terrain on the outside. Like you would expect grass that's on fire to get blackened and stuff. So eventually, I would expect them to have some form, some way to do that. With those models, it might be a little bit easier because they can use the different channels of the model to change the colors. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what path they go with the damaging based off of fire.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either, and I'm definitely curious. That's why I was asking that question. But
the only thing they've talked about fire right now is just the
fire propagation,
the smoke, and the way it propagates.
Which is already
I'm also thinking of not just fire, but like they're talking about us having plasma weapons. So imagine what a plasma weapon does to the not just the externals of the ship, but what if it penetrates interior? What does that look like?
Yeah. Or what if you're firing
I want to see that
ship?
Melted, 6-inch cannonball hole that goes straight through a ship.
Yeah.
So.
Plus, there's also what if you're firing your your plasma rifle inside your ship?
And it brings
accidental
up the question,
discharge.
How are they going to handle damage to the glass cockpit areas? Assuming it's glass, it could be some other material, but
it's aluminum.
It's some kind of aluminum bullshit.
Okay, but I mean,
it's like Star Trek,
that could be penetrated. So how's that going to interact? I'm interested to see
carefully.
I'm with you. I'm a fan of us actually not having any windows on ships per se. Well, correction. So this gets into. I don't want to get too down this hole, but in general, I think if a ship is like 3-man or bigger, it shouldn't have any major cockpit windows. I think it should be kind of like the Expanse, where everything's all enclosed for protection. Maybe you have some viewports in the doors or something, but in general, big giant glass windows are bad ideas in ships, I think, for micrometeorite reasons. But that's just me.
From our technology standpoint, that's definitely true. Windows are a weak point in the design, and especially in a combat ship, you wouldn't want those all over the ship because you're just reducing your structural integrity.
Yeah.
I
breaching
fully
points.
agree.
But in Star Citizen, way in the future, and they're already going more gamey than realistic. So
Yep.
I know.
It's hand waving, but
no,
I
totally
agree. Realistically, you'd have something like the Talon or the Prowler, where they have the fully enclosed cockpit, and they use camera and other sensors to simulate glass cockpit.
At some point,
to me, that's what I want ships to be like. Sorry, go.
yeah, at some point they're going to have some kind of damage indicator for this for the glass, because even if, say, laser weapons impacts aluminum and heats it up, it's going to melt and deform and cause
Yeah.
a visual degradation in that area. So I definitely want to see some kind of modeling like that.
I'm with you. Sign me up. Star Citizen Dreams. That's what we need to call this show now.
I already have Star Citizen Theory crafting on the screen right now. So
good enough.
Also, the image on the screen right now I have is the reclaimer wreck that's just completely rusted and foliage is growing around it.
So we could be seeing some of the extra damage effects once they get salvaged and repair.
Yeah.
That next patch or patch after?
Well, remember they did show off some of the that prototype of the salvage tool.
Yeah, they were stripping the hull, so they're definitely working on the understructure that you see underneath the outer plating.
Yep.
So
plus, if I can get my let me find this here. But hold on a sec.
The one thing I'm hoping with all these with all the wrecks and the like the abandoned building structures is I'm hoping they're very liberal in spreading those around. And I'd like to see so that they're not just like mission destinations, in other words. And what I'd like to see go with that is that only the ones that have missions have guaranteed AI presence or a variation, to going against what data likes, a percentage chance of AI being there. But at the other ones, in other words, non-mission ones, just random, I'd like to generally see them not be populated, but have just enough percentage chance that every once in a while they do show up that keeps you on your toes. So like, just because you're good, you're flying across a moon somewhere and you register like, oh hey, I'm picking up a wreck site. You don't just go, oh well, this isn't a mission one, I'm safe. There should be just enough of a hint that there's potential danger that it keeps you on your toes, if I'm making sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I have the screenshot right now.
Basically, just more wrecks, more locations, but not mission centric.
More.
Give me more.
More. I have a screenshot of my Cutlass Black that I have in the Best in Show skin, so it's actually white. And in the screenshot, it is not white because it took severe damage and all the paint's been stripped. It's all charred and black and missing an engine.
Yeah.
That was just from a few weeks ago in the live build.
Cuddy.
Yep.
Where we're going, we don't need engines.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing like iteration 5 of hull damage, deformations and stuff, and what they come up with for that. Because I think that's where we'll really see, that's when they're reaching their full stride.
And I'm just looking at just the hull damage on the Cutlass right now that I took. It's like, damn, like you look at this and the ship looks nothing like it did at the start of the fight. Again, it was white. Now it's black.
Yeah.
And you look at the material, the armor. It's like the metal's wrinkled and it was warped. There's scorch marks everywhere. The armor's been stripped in some areas, so you can see the kind of inner superstructure of the ship.
Yeah, I'm just seeing a picture that just has dollar signs once I got my Vulture.
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why I'm looking forward to the Vulture is because that'll be the next iteration of possible money making outside of mining, which is pretty much the only other money maker in the game right now. Unless you're running missions, the only way to make money essentially is to mine right now.
Yeah.
So I see the vulture as like that's going to be a second channel or an opportunity for non combat players to make some money.
Yeah, especially once ships get damaged and disabled, instead of just blowing up, you just go combat hunting, look for the fights, and clean up the wrecks.
Yep.
Especially like Data. You and I have been on ships that have just simply been disabled more than enough times to go, hey, it's not impossible to run into a disabled ship, and if we had a vulture, you can just the freelancer's dead in the water. Here, get the vulture to strip this thing, make some money off of it.
See, I'm thinking like, remember there used to be, I can't remember what patch this was. I know it was a long time ago. Back in like the the late 2s. But there was a mission where you needed to go protect a starfarer, and a lot of times it would bug out, and you could EVA over and get inside it, take out the captain. And I'm like, now imagine if you did that with a vulture. Then you've got a whole starfarer to disassemble. Like, how much money is that?
I think that was a 3.0 mission.
I just remember it being around a lot of times it would pop up. I know it was supposed to be random, but it seemed like it predominantly popped up around the asteroid clusters around Delamar.
Definitely 3.0 or later then, because Delamar wasn't in 2.6 or earlier.
Okay.
But I know exactly the mission you mean, where it was essentially it was a kind of like a SOS mission. The starfarer was just kind of dead in the water, and they asked for you had to defend them while they were repairing their ship inside, and so they can fly away. And like there was just wave after wave of dogfighting, but a lot of the times that mission was super glitched. ECN alerts mission.
What was the mission where you would fly out and there was some lady on a space station who would greet you and was like, "Yeah, we noticed."
Oh, the ICC missions.
Bannister.
Yeah.
Yes, Tessa Bannister.
Yeah, that was 2.6 and earlier even. That was 2.4 and 5.
There's 10 missions if you went in sequence.
Yes.
And the last one was what was it? It
The
wasn't
Van
a Van Duel, but it was something special that you fought.
I think it was a Van Duel Glaive.
Was it?
It was the Glaive and the Scythe were the only Van Duel ships in the game at the time.
Okay, so then it was, yeah. But yeah, I remember logging in, and you that would be like an evening is do all 10 of her missions.
No, we did a lot. Remember, if you had 10 people doing that mission, there would be 20 fighters because it would spawn 2 enemies per player. So.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I wouldn't even bother doing the missions, in the sense that I would just go out to the location and sit there and wait for like another player to show up.
Yeah,
and then I just help them.
Yep. That was the original. Because remember, the first one was always find was like a constellation wreck, and get the find the black box, get the data from the black box. There was actually audio with it.
Yep.
Because they actually had like
Those
a little
were good
story.
missions.
Yeah. I want them to come back.
Yeah, hopefully.
I don't even care if they don't change it. I just liked having missions that had audio and story, like in a narrative to it. There's an actual story.
Well, not just that.
You can kind of piece together.
I liked having I liked that it was mission that included dogfighting and EVA and picking something up and bringing it back. Like it kind of met all the needs in one rolled up. Whereas to me, a lot of the missions nowadays are very, they're just go dogfight.
It's essentially do X, done. Like imagine now like one of those ICC missions, except you go in, except now it's in the atmosphere, right? It's over a ground wreck. And it's ground vehicle combat instead, or something, or just maybe it's, you have to dogfight your way to the wreck. Like there's some fighters around the wreck. They're just kind of like hovering around like vultures. You gotta take them down. Then you get inside the wreck, and there's NPCs in there, and then you finally find the black box. You uncover the audio log and get your next clue right to the next objective.
Yep.
Dear CIG.
Okay, so
Dear
I'm gonna have to
Great
run here.
Have fun. Don't die.
Walking's much easier. Just recommendation.
Nah, run before you can even crawl. It's more.
I'll make you run.
Good talks, good ideas. I enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys later.
All right.
Yeah, take it easy, Dad.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, you didn't.
So Turbulent Services. So in March, Turbulent Online Services team delivered the Reputation service, which passed QATR with the zero reported bugs. Interesting so far. Okay.
Yeah, right.
They also completed the majority of work with the login flow refactor project, including the rental service, putting together the main login loop, entitlement service, and login service. So that is something to know for anyone who ever does want to read these monthly reports. Is there's a lot of technobabble. I like it, but obviously definitely not for everyone. So that is something. Oh, and sorry about that. I'm going to put the link to this chat so people read it later if they wish.
Blame Canada.
We can only do that when Julios is actually here. Otherwise, Canada's not real.
That's exactly what Canada wants you to think.
Yes, also, like I heard they're going to move over some of the UI that hasn't been moved to building blocks yet over to building blocks. Awesome. Like the visor or the star maps, radar.
Need.
Star map definitely needs to go on a whole 3-hour rant about that.
Okay, so
Suggestion, not a command. But I mean, look, I just love that they're actually doing, like, at least for Squadron so far, as well as the PU, they're working on the UI for, like, using building blocks for all the UI, which is great because we've seen what they can do with it. It's pretty good. It's a very flexible system, an adaptive system too. It'll be nice to have a HUD that actually tells me when I'm running out of oxygen, when I'm in a non-habitable environment.
As opposed to when you're running out of
speaking of
oxygen
which,
in a habitable environment?
I just remembered something from the ISC that I did catch up on, or from the SCL episode that caught my attention, which was, and it totally caught me off guard, was Disco asking the feature team when we're going to get a compass. Finally. And they said no.
What?
Did they?
I mean, he was asking it in the context of, like, how soon? Like, are we getting it soon kind of a thing? And basically it got no response.
Okay, I thought, like, no compass at all. I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah, but it's like getting no response is very different from...
I have the thing on the screen.
There's a difference between no response and them saying, no, you're not getting it.
Yeah. No, they didn't say, no, you're not getting it. They just responded as in, no, we're not working on it. It's not anytime soon kind of a thing.
Which is understandable. I mean, honestly, among other
priorities,
for Planet Tech, they're probably trying to knock out that nav mesh first, because without that, you're never going to have NPCs on the ground, and you're not going to probably have NPCs being able to fly an atmosphere too well.
I don't care
As
about
part of that
NPCs.
run
I just
segment.
want a compass. Damn it.
Get fucked.
I'm keeping
I
I'm
forgot
keeping the
to
thing
ask
on the
Data
screen.
about is falling into planet tech, because
Yeah.
I
Oh,
think that
and he was getting increase in temperature as he was falling, and I thought that was actually really cool when he said that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, it's getting hotter. Because that might play into some
I
pretty
think
interesting gameplay. Like, if you're in a cave and that cave starts going really, really deep.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, really deep.
based off of like the real world, you'd have to like we'd never be able to reach those kind of
No.
depths where you'd actually start getting that temperature. But
this is the 30th
what
century.
that implies, what it implies for possible core mechanics, and when I say core, I don't mean like core of the game. I mean
Planetary
actual
core.
like planetary tectonics core type stuff. There's a whole lot that could imply, because you start thinking about, like we were just talking about a compass. So how is a compass going to work? Like if it's based off it can't be magnetic, because not all planets have a magnetic core that enable a magnetic compass to work. Like even in our real world solar system, there I can't think of it the name of it right now, but I know that one of the one of the Jupiter moons doesn't have a metal core. So if you had a compass on there, it wouldn't register. So you've got to figure out, like, how things are going to be affected. Like what kind of signatures and returns are you going to get? And then what is that planetary core temperature? How does that affect, like, are there certain areas of that planet where that inner molten core reaches higher altitudes from the core, and would that cause an effect on your weather systems and how weather systems develop on the surface of that planet, depending on what that planet's atmosphere is made out of, what chemical components, elements, like all those kind of weird things can iterate out of that. I'll shut up now because I know.
No, I'm like, this is what I love about Star Citizen, is that this is this type of things that they're probably going to be doing, and it makes you think, okay, that means that someone has to do all this shit for every planet, and that's what I love. Where it's like people, like, every now and then, whenever I introduce a new player, like the planets are procedurally generated, right? Like no, they're procedurally assisted, but an artist hand touches every single location.
Yeah.
And it's like and this is one of the reasons why, because like, oh, here's a moon that doesn't have a magnetic, any magnetic field, so how is that gonna, that determines type of weather and this and that, and that means that they have to do this manually. Not, a computer algorithm's not gonna really be able to do that properly.
So it determines whether the weather shall wither?
Well, to put it into real world context, Mars does not have a magnetosphere, but Earth does. And part of the reason why Earth has an atmosphere is because the magnetosphere blocks hazardous rays that come out of the sun that allow that if we didn't have that magnetosphere, would essentially strip our atmosphere off, and then you don't have clouds, and then you don't have rain cycles, and then you don't have water, because the water just evaporates into space, and blah, blah, blah. So, like, think about that in this game. Like, that's going to affect how a planet forms and what kind of atmosphere it has. Things like that. So there's just so many ramifications when you get into
and that's what I love
mechanics
about the game, and this is why it's so cool and important that they turned think before you act into a gameplay mechanic with Star Citizens, because of locations like that, where it's going to be like, oh, you're at this location now. If you're not wearing the proper gear, or if you're just not, you just ran into the situation head first without thinking, right? You're gonna feel those repercussions in one way or another.
Yeah, actually, to speak of it, here's another one that I forgot that they talked about. One of the questions in the ISL or CSL was
Star Citizen Live, for anyone
I gotta get that right. Anyways,
Yeah.
The question was, when are we going to get parachutes? And
right, because
the team basically said, oh, it's something we're thinking about. Yeah, we like the idea, but we haven't gone anywhere, and no, we're not working on it, and it's not going to be anytime
if
soon.
I recall, a few years ago they were asked that question, and they said that we're not going to get parachutes in the traditional sense because, and even in some of the locations we already have in game, a parachute would do nothing.
Well, that's that I brought up. I haven't heard. I've actually, and I've even reached out to them. And just for anyone who's listening in background knowledge, my personal real world experience is 20 plus years in working with parachute system. So I have a lot. This is my pet. This is my baby as far as knowledge goes. And so I've actually even reached out to CIG and said, hey, if you guys are thinking about using parachutes, please, reach out to me and I will answer some questions, because there are a lot of limitations to how parachute systems work and why parachutes are a bad idea for Star Citizen, because of that stuff that we've just been talking about with the planets.
Gravity, pressure, all these sorts, atmosphere conditions.
Yeah. Like, trying to use a parachute in an acid environment is a really, really bad thing. Like, people think, oh, well, it's an acid atmosphere, but you're only using it for a short period of time. But when you start ripping a extremely thin piece of material through an acid environment at extreme high speeds, it deteriorates at extreme high speeds. So you'd punch out, and as your parachute is going through the opening process, it would shred, depending on how acidic that environment is.
What could possibly go wrong?
And I think I remember. So when they were asked this a few years ago, I believe they answered with something along the lines of your EVA harness would act as like a similar to like a jetpack of a sort, but that prevents you from
your EVA thrusters would give you a emergency landing thrust, to the point where it's not a jetpack, and they wanted to emphasize it's not a jetpack.
No,
but it might let you land safely.
And in the same, I believe in the same discussion,
it just slows it enough that you.
Yeah, essentially, it's a thruster based, slowing your descent using thrusters, verniers. But I believe in the same discussion they also talked about. Yeah. And I believe in the same discussion they talked about using the EVA harness for assisted jumps in certain environments, like a low gravity or something.
I just personally wouldn't go with a harness system. I would go with the seat.
Well, this was back then, and they were just listing an example, but that was the baseline idea, I believe. You having your EVA harness or a pack or something that uses verniers, thrusters to slow your descent, as opposed to something that only works in an Earth-like environment, like a parachute.
Yeah.
Because they need a uniform system for that, because, like a parachute's only going to work in something like Earth, or something that has Earth-like pressure and atmospheric conditions, gravity, versus, something like Daymar, or Ariel, Aberdeen, any of Microtech's moons. None of those locations would work with a parachute. Like,
just to give an example, so to help people understand, when it comes to parachutes and how they function in Earth's atmosphere, NASA has put supercomputers on the level of the kind of supercomputers that have tried to correctly model nuclear explosions and can do that. They've tried to model parachute mechanics and to figure out how exactly they work in the atmosphere as they're opening, so that they can build a better parachute. And those supercomputers can't figure it out. That's how weird the mechanics get just using our atmosphere. So now imagine varying that atmosphere by, how many moons, how many systems, and how many variations you could possibly come up with.
And it's not just the atmosphere, but it's the gravity, and it's also the condition of the atmosphere. Like, that counts the atmosphere. Yeah. Like, the gases that comprise it, and
Yep.
how thick
I
is
will
the
get off my
atmosphere.
box because I know you guys don't want to hear any more from me. But
No, I find it
it's- yeah.
interesting, but I wonder about
Continue
anyone
or
watching.
else.
Yeah,
you
like,
get,
when we've been landing those probes on Mars, the fact that they've been using the designs that they've been using for those parachute systems are they're not guaranteed success. Those are best guesses that they've been able to design
Yeah,
from
the fact that they
modeling
didn't just
that I'm talking about with the supercomputers.
the
But
fact that
they're
they
still
landed
not guaranteed.
yeah, the fact that any of
Sorry?
those things landed intact is
Oh, it's amazing. And there's a reason why you always see 3 parachutes when it comes to
Yep.
to landing systems like that, because that's the kind of redundancy you need to have to make sure that at least one will work, is to have 3.
and the configuration that it's in also allows for least amount of or at least the most amount of deceleration based on the configuration and parachutes. But it's like, yeah, it's best guesses. So
Well, the shapes that you're seeing and how they're deployed isn't necessarily about deceleration. It's about guaranteeing of opening.
no, I'm not talking about the shapes and the size. I'm talking about the configuration of how they have the 3 parachutes.
Oh, gotcha. Well, those are also configured
Because that's
that
a
way
physics
to
issue.
make sure that
Yeah.
they open.
Right.
So you're getting into some weird stuff, but basically, if you can get the way engineers look at parachutes is, if you can get a parachute open, that's more important than how fast you're going after the opening. In the sense that, how do I put this? Having some possible deformation to the landing cargo is acceptable if you can guarantee that at least that parachute opens. So in other words, it's more important that the parachute opens than if the cargo lands doing 50 miles an hour, if that makes sense.
Makes sense to me, but
Like, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of the ejection seats in our fighter aircraft, because of weight restrictions and these design parameters that I'm talking about, most of the parachute systems are designed not to get the pilots on the ground intact. They're only to get the pilot on the ground alive. And what that means is that if he breaks bones or suffers somewhat serious injuries, that's considered acceptable as long as you can actually go and recover the pilot.
If he dies, he dies.
So it's not like,
Yeah.
oh, he has to land comfortably. It's no, we got him to the
it's
ground
essentially
without him
can
dying.
we can does he survive and can we pick him up? Aside from that, nothing else. Yeah.
Yep. Which, when you're actually testing those parachutes and you're told that by the engineers who designed it, and then they're handing you one, you start to really question your life decisions.
Look, what could possibly go wrong?
I believe we listed that earlier.
Yeah.
Details.
By the deep.
That was actually probably one of the best tours in my military career, was was 4 years as a test parachutist, working with the actual design manufacturer teams of the parachute systems. And the amount of things that you learn, you're just like, holy crap, it's amazing these things work and I'm alive. Like,
Look, what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, because like it's essentially minimum. It's does it work? Yes. Does it work well? It doesn't need to. As long as it works, that's all that matters.
Yep. Is it functional?
Exactly.
But anywho, but yeah, so they brought that question up again, and the answer was, we're looking into it, and I was kind of like, oh no, don't go down that route. So hopefully they go with the ejection stuff. Go, Cam. Sorry.
I would like it if it was a option with those kinds of caveats on there that, hey, if you decided to go and rely on a parachute and you're punching out in the atmosphere of an acid-based world, you're going to have a bad fucking time.
Yeah. You don't say.
Yeah. I would rather have the ship designed with an ejection seat that I know is going to work. I'm willing to pay that extra dollars.
But I know, I see where Cam's going, and yeah, I'd like that option, because say, hey, you don't plan on really ever leaving or whatever a planet like Arcourt, which is essentially a very Earth-like planet. You know.
Oh yeah,
yeah, no, like a parachute would work there.
Let me caveat. I'm 100% for having parachutes in the game, but they should be a standalone thing. In other words, you want to buy a parachute and keep it in the back of your Cutlass and fly into Atmo and jump out with it? Absolutely, fucking do it. Like that, I want that gameplay. But for emergency bailout systems, I'd like it to be
it should not. Yeah, the standard issue ejection protocol should not be relying on a parachute in Star Citizen. It should be relying on like something like they mentioned, and what I mentioned earlier with the EVA harness being using thrusters to slow your descent. That was mentioned, I think, 3 years ago now, maybe longer.
Yeah, like that.
So, like, I think that's a good system.
But then what happens when you're wearing civilian clothes? You know,
then
things
you're screwed.
like that. So.
Or it's the chair that has the system. So.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me that's the way to go for emergency egress purposes only.
Right.
Here's a question though, because they've very clearly thrown around this idea that we're not always going to be in our undersuit and helmet and that kind of stuff. That being said, though, too, especially if you're in a fighter, you should pretty much always be in a undersuit and have
a helmet,
helmet on,
flight gear.
But I'm gonna laugh when people are in like civvy clothes kind of thing, no helmet,
shorts
no pressure
t-shirt,
suit.
flip flop.
Yeah.
And they try to
not even just boxers and a t-shirt.
Like
with some socks
on. See some guy punch out in a Gladius here.
Yeah.
Like, good news, you just ejected. Good. Bad news, you're in the vacuum of space. Goodbye.
Yep. I would actually be even okay if they had some hand wavium involved, to the sense of like, okay, when your seat ejects, it has a small built-in like micro shield generator that doesn't deflect, missiles and bombs and laser fire or bullets, but it does protect you from micro meteor, atmospheric conditions. But it only does it until it reaches the ground, and then it like runs out of juice or whatever,
So essentially, it's an air shield
on the ground.
So...
Like, I made it, but all I've got is a pair of boxers and a t-shirt on.
Yeah.
I'm fucked.
You're fine. Walk it off.
Also, say the ground is the ground of Selland, which is an uninhabitable moon that's got like temperatures of negative 200 degrees Celsius or something like that. You really don't want to leave that seat.
I see the cartoon of the guy like ejects, like, oh god, oh god, oh god, and then the seat like lands and he's like, I made it, and then you see the
shield, then you see like the air shield just powers off and he dies.
It turns off and he's just like, I'm dead.
Yep. The air shield to the seat's like, I made it, and then the air shield like power low. Oh no! Ah!
Yep. That would be good.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's so much stuff
again,
that they can do.
Think before you act. Always put on your undersuit and helmet if you're going to be doing anything, any flight, anything regarding flying, really.
And the one thing I absolutely want to see, if they do parachute systems, if they disregard everything I'm thinking and they do go the parachute route, I want every single ship to have enough parachutes -1. So every ship has enough parachutes for everyone except for one person. So that every time you're going to do it, it's musical chairs.
We're adopting that, but you always get the last parachute. Just because you're the one that suggested it, you always get last parachute.
Yeah.
The owner always gets the last parachute.
Nope. Executive override.
As owner, I say you get the last parachute.
I'm just picturing an 890 jump full of people all scrambling to get to the
and it only has enough parachutes for the crew. Screw everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me that the crew bringing about some,
the crew
some
already
fucking
jumped off.
rich motherfuckers, like you're telling me they wouldn't abandon those assholes? Come on.
Oh no!
Oh, they
already
would.
jumped off.
No, that's the thing. They would have
last
jumped off by the
of
time the
guests
crisis
that you're
initially
fighting.
started. First 5 seconds of the alarm blaring, the crew have already jumped ship. You can see them descending on the planet surface now.
Yeah, the crew hit the alarm as they were leaving.
Exactly. It was hitting it on the way out.
Yeah. Titanic style.
God,
no, what was the?
So we're going to be posing on the bow of it? Okay.
I'm king of the squirrels.
No, there was what was the ship in the? I want to say it was like mid 2000s, maybe late 90s, off the Italian coast. It was a big old giant cruise liner. Ran like, I mean, when I say ran aground, I mean this thing was sinking. Ran aground.
I know what you're talking about, but I'm blanking on the name too.
Yeah, the ship crew completely abandoned.
Yeah.
Like first they told everyone to go to their cabins because hey, we're solving the problem. And once the crew realized like we can't solve this problem,
it's like we're gonna solve the problem, and then once they realize what the problem was, they just jumped ship, literally.
And the only way that the people on board, the guests found out is after like waiting hours and hours.
Yeah,
finally, somebody was
like,
horrible. Fuck it, I'm going out of my cabin, and they start walking around the ship, and there's no crew on the ship. And they're like, what the fuck is going on?
They just ditched them.
Yep.
Yeah, self-preservation overrode everything else.
What was the name of that? It was an Italian named ship, and it was in the Med when it happened. But anyways,
if we're lucky, someone watching this on the rerun in like 3 weeks, I will probably put it in the comment section.
Yeah, we'll be yelling at their screen at me.
That's why I say if we're lucky.
Let me, you know what? It's worth a Google.
Yeah, I mean, we have the power of the internet. That's what I love. We have the power of the internet and the sum of human knowledge at our fingertips. We're still, guessing like it's.
Costa Concordia.
That's yeah. That's
all I typed in was Italian cruise shipwreck, and it came up.
I remember like something with a C and an A or something like that, but yeah.
And it was 2012.
Cruise ship with C and an A, that can be anything from literally cruise ship to like anything else. Like also like what's that brand of cruise ships that's like no, that's the Queen something. There's so many of those.
Yeah.
Now, did you hear that they've also finally, like, cruise ships are a thing again because they lifted all the COVID-19 dates and stuff? Not to go down a completely irrelevant rabbit hole. At least the other rabbit holes were irrelevant to Star Citizen.
Well, I heard like 6-8 months ago they lifted everything and everyone was coming on board, and then it was like 2 or 3 months ago they went through a whole new wave of problems with COVID again. So.
Yeah, because it's like, we lifted it, and then it's like, oh no, everyone's getting it again. Now we're closing it back down because everyone's freaking afraid. And then it's back up. It's
yeah. Well, Indeed. It's no longer about health; it's about money nowadays.
I don't think it was ever about, like, maybe for the first 2 months it was about health, but okay. Realistically, it was like 5. At best, 7 months, it was about health. After that, no. And that's on the long side, 5 to 7 months.
Yeah.
Because after that, we knew what we were dealing with, and viable treatment options were a thing. Not the best, but we started to get a grasp at what we were dealing with and know how to deal with it. Like, that's when the information finally kind of became, okay, we got it. Or we started to get it, and... But no, let's keep everything in effect and make lives work for everyone, economy, and blah 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 blah.
Anywho, Star Citizen.
Yes, the citizens of the stars.
I do got to bail out here shortly, just a FYI.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're our hostage, and you'll stay here until we say so.
You're not the boss of me.
I mean, technically.
Actually.
To be fair.
Who wants to be fair? I want to be right.
To be right. Yeah, no, that's yeah, parachute Star Citizen would be a good idea for like just to have as an option, but not as the standard issue emergency protocols for ships. Although it would be, and I want it to be in game as an option for like lower tier society, like those village like outposts that you'll have, like they'll maybe be using parachutes because they're on a habitable planet that has Earth-like conditions, so parachutes feasible.
Yeah,
but they're like a lower tech, lower tier technology level planet or civilization, or not civilization. It's all one civilization, but like the society of that location, they're not as advanced. Like they're still using like 300-year-old technology compared to everyone else. They're still behind.
I'm only
that sort of
talking
thing.
about systems that are integrated into system-wide ship manufacturers.
Right, you're talking about the standard issue built-in stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I'm saying like as an option, like if you wanted to be an idiot and replace that system with a parachute, I'm all for that. Just so that you have options, and B, it'll be funny to watch people do it. Just come on.
Well, I also want just standard parachutes so that instead of trying to land the Cutlass at the target, maybe you fly over it or offset.
Yeah, like say
your team does a actual Halo, or Hey-Ho insertion.
Yeah.
Using parachutes. I'm all on board.
Like like something like Hurston, right? That's supposed to have 2 Gs instead of the normal 1 G of Earth. And it's got Earth-like conditions and pressure and atmosphere. So, yeah, imagine doing like parachute jobs with that. Or doing like parachute drops on a location like.
Oh, I could totally see setting up a parachute jump course at Crusader. Jump off a platform, fall down.
Yeah.
Have a big old
you
ship
jump
at the
like
bottom.
honestly, I mean, you have like a either from a ship,
right? Like Liberator at the bottom, and you have people land on it.
I was gonna say like okay, you're at ship-wise, like you can be in like a like Hercules, the Starlifter. You just have like a bunch of people running out, as you would today, the parachute onto one of the platforms, right?
Yeah.
As the ship's moving, like for training purposes, or you can do it where like you're on one of those barges that just circle the city, and you just jump onto one of those as it passes the platforms. The idea is to land on the platforms and not just get screwed.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. Like, if you don't land on one of those platforms,
you might have a bad day.
You might have the last day you'll ever have.
Like I said, a bad day. Don't worry, though. You got the rest of your life to figure it out.
Which will be all of 20 minutes.
I was stationed over in Spain, and it was coming up on 4th of July, and the naval station there had a tradition of putting on a parachute jump for the 4th of July base parade. And since, we're the local unit that normally did it, it was my job to set it all up and make sure everything worked. So I set up some training jumps for it, and I had this old senior enlisted guy who had been, in his past, had been part of SEAL Team 6, who was very parachute-centric, so very skilled. And he kept missing the training. And finally I had to go up to him and be like, hey man, I'm gonna have to cut you off this demo jump if you're not gonna do the training. And he's like, oh, you know my background, I've got tons of experience. This is just a hop and pop. Nothing to worry about. And I was like, look, I respect your background and your experience, but the equipment changes and experience levels drop. It's not like riding a bike. You don't just strap it on and boom, you're right back
you
to
got to be a team player.
Your glory days. And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. I got it. And luckily, he shows up for the last one, and I had kind of taken it up the chain, and they're like, yeah, you kind of got to keep him on the team. Like, he's an old hand, and everyone knows him, and you're causing bad blood if you do this, blah, 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 blah. So basically I got to take the guy. So here it is, 4th of July. the whole base is turned out with, several thousand people around this baseball field, and we jump out, and who doesn't make the drop zone? It's
your
the
question rhetorical at this
not only
point.
drop zone, but he manages to get caught in some electrical lines and take out some power to parts of the base, and it's caught on camera, which is broadcast for all of AFES, which for those who don't know, AFES is like the kind of like the public broadcast channel of the armed forces. So like when you go overseas,
isn't the armed broadcasting
gets,
station? Isn't that what it is? Isn't it armed broadcasting stations? Or Army broadcasting station?
It's the Armed Forces Radio Network.
Yeah.
And television, so sometimes called AFARTs, but it different regions call it different things. But essentially, it's it's a channel that Americans can watch on foreign bases that carries American content, and usually it also includes a heavy dose of like what's locally happening in different areas. So if you're in Europe, you'll get like, hey, here's what's going on in Japan, and you'll see some local things going on. So our jump, because it's a 4th of July event, was being videoed for this, so that the people in Germany and in Turkey and Japan and whatnot would be able to see this. And here's our senior chief, our E7, missing the landing zone and taking power out to base housing. And I will give this guy credit though. Afterwards, he made it a point. He comes into my office the next day, shaking his head, and he goes, "You're right. I was wrong. I should have listened to you, and I should have done what you were telling me to do, and that's my fault."
Okay, that shows some character.
That was big on him. Like, he owned up to it. That's huge. Like, you don't normally get that in the military, especially when
you don't normally get that in life. Period.
True. But yeah, so that was. But that's my experience story of like, you better nail that landing, or else you're going to be a public disgrace.
Okay, I mean, still failing the landing, getting caught in electrical wire, and taking the power out for the base is entertaining, though.
Oh, it is, absolutely. As long as you're not the one involved, exactly. Or the one having to do the paperwork. Yeah. I was fortunate in my career that I didn't actually have to deal with too many major fatalities or life-threatening incidents. But for some reason, I got a lot of power lines in my history.
I wonder why.
I never personally hit one, but I was around a lot of other people who did.
Okay, remind me to make a note of your special call sign in game for any operations will now be power lines.
There you go. But yeah. No, parachutes will be fun. If they're not gamified. If there's actually some skill involved.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is like, imagine different types of parachute, paragliding, all sorts of like that.
Oh.
Like being able to turn it from.
Would be cool.
Yeah, like actually making recreational gameplay mechanics out of it. Like I'm at Microtech, I'm on this mountaintop, let's go paragliding. Stuff like that.
Yeah, now paragliding, that I can see actually not just being fun, but I can see that being used tactically. Like,
yeah.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Being able to land in a valley, pull out your little your ultralight power glider and cruise up over the valley top and drop down into the next valley without anyone actually seeing you, and you're not doing it on foot or with a vehicle, so it's
a mission wise you're practically invisible.
Pick you up. Yeah, like that's awesome.
Like there's reconnaissance wise that would be great.
Right now, but...
yeah. Plus, again, like it will help emphasize how Star Citizen is not all about ships.
Yeah.
Which I think is a lot of the time what everyone focuses, and understandably so, especially now. But in the future, it's not all going to be about shit. And I like stuff like this would definitely help with that. Plus, it would give you reasons not, like, hey, no emissions, and if they do it right, the gameplay mechanics for it could be really fun.
Yep. Well, unfortunately, on this note, I got to bail out on you guys. It's been fun, and I will see you guys next week.
It's been fun, but it hasn't been real fun.
Rub-a-dub-dub, thanks for the grub and all that.
All right, guys. Next week.
Yep.
Bye, don't die.
Alright, well, I don't think we have anything else Star Citizen wanted to talk about. Although I do have a PlayStation thing.
So this video is
from I do have a PlayStation thing that happened recently.
You did what with the PlayStation?
I did nothing with a PlayStation, but the PlayStation themselves apparently. So an all-new PlayStation Plus launches in June with 700 games and more value than ever, according to this PlayStation blog article on the screen. Also, let me get that. However, it had like a bug or something where people playing old games could not. It was a mess apparently, or it will. I don't know. I haven't read this whole story, so I don't think this is planned for June, but I know they had like a backwards compatibility issue where people weren't able to play games due to like an expiration issue. Here, multiple PlayStation users have reported that some digital games are no longer booting on classic consoles such as PlayStation 3 and PS Vita. As summarized by a Kotaku article, multiple users have reported that their PS1 classic version of Chrono Cross now displays a decades-old expiration date, will not boot after being downloaded. The issue coincides with the release of the new Chrono Cross remaster for modern consoles. However, there's evidence that the problem extends to other older games as well. On social media, users have reported similar decades-old expiration dates, preventing them from playing games such as Final Fantasy VI, Run Factory Oceans, and Unit 13. One Reddit user even claims their entire PS Vita library has been made accessible. And this is both like digital games and disc as well. One of the aforementioned social media posts says, and I'm quoting it here. So, you can actually see it on the screen. By the way, Young did a video of it. Good. So did PlayStation expire the PS1 Classics versions of Chrono Cross and Chrono Trigger by setting the date on new downloads to December 31st of 1969? This is preventing me from playing my purchased copies on Vita and PS3. Now that's not so good. But yeah, it's here's the aforementioned article that I'm reading, but it's like, yeah, that's great. It really does say expired 1960. When Stacy was still alive in the comic books. Yeah, apparently, and supposedly it's a glitch or something. It's not like, because one of the and I'm fully willing to believe that this is the case, but it's similar to how it's a case of they get rid of the old games. You can't play the old games, so that this way you have to buy the new version of that game.
Yep.
Like with the definitive edition, the so-called definitive edition of GTA. Where it's this buggy mess that's worse than the originals, but they got rid of the originals, so now you can only play this one. So, and this entire issue apparently is just another nail in the coffin that is game preservation, like the preservation of older games that, say, in 20 years from now, or 40 years from now, or 100 years from now, you're not going to be able to play these because either, they were only digital and now you can't, get them because of copyright or whatever. No one's digitized these games, and the only way to play it is on your N64 with the cartridge that's decaying. And once that happens, that game's kaput. So there's just, and we talked about this, and like this is the reason why Nintendo emulation and emulation in general is such a big thing, because it's the only way to really play these older games without issue, and it's also the only, I don't want to say successful, but currently the only feasible method of game preservation is emulation. Until a better system, or just a system in general, is made to preserve these games in a proper and not screw you over for money way.
Well, and part of the problem too with it is that you have a lot of games that'll go and put in their DRM policies and such, which ends up being, for the actual pirates, doesn't really affect them because they're able to go and strip it out, and it's not really effective. For the actual players, though, hey, guess what? It's actually fucking your game over because it's got all this bullshit that's shoved in there, and you're just kind of screwed with it because you decided to play the game legally and legitimately.
Yeah, and I was telling I recently, was telling someone who was actually, they have a channel where they do PlayStation stuff. Raquel SSG. She's a cool person. And I was telling, she's a big PlayStation player, and I was telling her how, just a heads up, I don't know if they fixed this issue or not, but we covered that story with the CMOS battery, right, and how the PlayStation 4 essentially has a ticking time bomb in its usefulness. Yeah. And it's pretty much, because say it's
not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah, and like here's the thing though, it's not like, in a matter of 2 years if that battery goes, it's it. Like, as long as the PlayStation 4 servers are intact and running,
you're fine.
Say, okay, I don't have a PlayStation 4, but theoretically, if I had a PlayStation 4, the battery goes kaput, the CMOS battery goes kaput. Okay, I can either get and I replace it. Okay, as long as it can reconnect to the PlayStation 4, all is well. Great. PlayStation 4 is fixed. It's running good as new. PlayStation 4 servers are not going to be around forever. They just this past, was it December? They took down the 360 servers. Like, I can't. You can't play like the original Halos online anymore. Now, obviously, in the future, they're going to do that with the PlayStation 4 servers and 1 servers. Probably,
etc.
etc. Yeah, as the new generations come out, like PlayStation 6 and 7, if they do that. So, say the console battery, the CMOS battery, goes kaput after that happens, you can still replace it, and you can still, the console will still work, but you won't be able to play any games, including your disc game, and your console just becomes a glorified paperweight.
Yep.
And that's the problem, is that like they DRM, like the Xbox One is worse in a way, because you really can't play any of these games without having an internet connection at all. And it's the same thing with the PS4, but it's like, nowadays when you have a CD for a disc, like, I'm going to get the physical copy of a game, except the game, and we've talked about this before.
Also, you're glitching out pretty bad in terms of your connection.
Oh yeah. I mean, everything's fine on my end.
Download more RAM.
Everything seems to be fine on my end, and the OBS isn't having any issue.
Yeah, no, I think it's just
Discord,
unfortunately.
Because I've been having the same issue.
Maybe.
I've been having the same issue on my mobile when I was talking to you yesterday. So, and now I'm on my computer and I'm having the same issue
Wow.
Seems to be just Discord, so I have no idea what. It's a new Discord terms of service policy. They're affecting the censorship. No,
That's right. Good folks.
but the whole thing with DMS battery, just like DRMs in general, it's an anti-piracy method that hurts the customer more. Like, yeah, it's for your it's the company saying, "Don't worry, we know what's best for you. This will make things better." And when it's really all about, hey, we don't want you going to your friend's house to put your CD into his console to play a game, like I used to do all the damn time.
Yeah,
and vice versa. Like a lot of the games I originally, like Fear and even like the original Star Wars games back on like the PlayStation 2 days, I got into those because I either a friend of mine had the game first, like second it came out, and he put it in onto my console, and we played it, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm gonna get this for myself, like, because back then, really, like, the best advertising was word of mouth, still is, but I mean, that was really like the only advertising you really had. You had magazines and stuff, but like no one read them, just like no one reads them today. But yeah, you have. The DRMs suck. Like, the newest Hitman games, right? How you really can't play those games at all without being connected to the internet. Because your progress, anything you do in the game won't matter unless you're connected to the IO interactive servers. Yep, and this is just kind of
same old.
Bit more of that. Yeah, so apparently this is a glitch, though, not a purposely done thing. Although if it is revealed eventually to be a purposely done thing, I would not be surprised. But supposedly it is just a glitch.
Yeah, we'll see.
But it is an interesting one. And as for the whole PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now come together thing, since launching the PlayStation Plus in 2010, Sony Interactive has been at the forefront of innovation with game subscription services. Yet Xbox Game Pass is at least more successful. Whether it's better or not, I want to say it is, but honestly, it's up for debate. It really depends on personal preference, I suppose, but anyway, they say we were thrilled, blah blah blah. First console membership service that included a refreshed library of games through PlayStation Plus, and also launched the first console game streaming service with PlayStation Now. Today, we are pleased to share with the official news and changes coming to a subscription service this June. We're bringing together PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now, all new PlayStation Plus subscription service that provides more choice to customers across the membership tiers globally. Have it all listed. What's this? Okay, this is from Watchdog. So your PlayStation Plus Essential as the best one or the lowest tier one? $10 a month. Okay, so this is the lowest tier. $10 a month. So $60 annually. That provides the same benefits that PlayStation Plus members are getting today, such as 2 monthly downloadable games, exclusive discounts, cloud storage for saved games, online multiplayer access. Have PlayStation Plus Extra, which provides all the same stuff from the previous one. It adds a catalog of up to 400 enjoyable PlayStation 4 and 5 games, including blockbuster hits, and then it's just the same thing but adding more stuff. Here, so the premium version has back like previous console games, PS3 games, as well as some games from the PS2 and PlayStation 1, PlayStation portable game. Although from what I've heard, it is similar to Xbox Game Pass, which is, as long as you're paying, you get access to these games. But if you stop paying, even if you have the game downloaded on your console, you're not going to be able to play it.
Get right.
Excuse me. Well, I got this. I muted myself for this second. At least on the stream. You had the tortured cat on.
Lies.
It's true. It was lies. Cam loves it when I say it.
I fucking knew it.
Yeah, and also in other non-Star Citizen gaming news, the what was it? Ubisoft. That's it. Ubisoft has killed Breaking Point. Breakpoint. They've had their breaking point with Breakpoint. Breakpoint was the game that they had the NFTs in.
Oh, no surprise there.
So they killed the live service aspect of it. The servers are still up, so you can still play Ghost Recon Breakpoint online and with other people with multiplayer and all that. Like you can still do that for now, but the live service aspect of it is dead, kaput. They've killed the game. They're moving on to the next thing.
What's no real surprise there?
No,
they managed to kill it off.
We keep predicting all these things where it's like, hey, here's a new live service game. They'll claim it's the next whatever for 10 years, and then it barely lasts a year or 2 years. You're lucky if it even goes 3 years. But in this case, this was the one with the NFTs and how they're saying it was great, right? They were saying, no, gamers don't know what they're talking about, the NFTs. They're saying it's bad for the environment and it's this and that. And like that's all they believe, or it's like, no, you're just trying to nickel and dime the player even more. NFTs are essentially like land plots on the moon, buying the stars, right? Remember the old thing, you get to buy a star and have the star named after? Yeah, that's pretty much what an NFT is, but worse.
Man, no, it's no surprise.
No.
Not really.
No, the surprise is that they actually killed it. But then again, they're probably this is how it works. They'll kill the current thing, which means okay, they're working on the next thing.
Yes, to nickel and dime you with.
Exactly, like Battlefield 5, they killed before Battlefield 2042 came out. Yeah, Breakpoint had its breaking point. I think if you ask me, it surpassed that long ago. First came out because Breakpoint, even before all the NFT stuff, Ghost Recon Breakpoint had monetization issues when it launched back in.
Yep.
I don't even remember when it launched. Was it 19 or 20?
Somewhere around there, but yeah, it from the beginning.
Like it was charging you for nearly everything under the sun. So.
Which is unfortunate too, just because like when they first announced that they were doing a open world Ghost Recon game, because like I remember the good old days of like Ghost Recon, what was it, Advanced Warfighter and Advanced Warfighter 2, so GRAW and GRAW 2.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite things about it was the single player campaign was good, but I also loved just being able to jump into the multiplayer side of things. And I was in like I want to say it was like a 16 player co-op, and you would all just choose whatever loadout you wanted. And I almost always go.
Well, to me, Ghost Recon was always at its best with co-op. So,
yeah,
like that was like the appeal of it to me. Like, hey, doing all this cool military stuff, with my friends. And that's the thing too, is it was a Tom Clancy game. And this was before Ubisoft would just throw the Tom Clancy name on everything to use for brand recognition to test out monetization schemes and essentially to follow trends and like every quote unquote AAA gaming trend under the sun. Like this is when they were actually when Tom Clancy on the title of something meant something. Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon, Tom Clancy's third one. What was the third? Anyway, but yeah, supposedly the new game they're working on is going to be in Hyperscape engine, like the engine they use for Hyperscape, because they killed that game last year. So,
but how hyper is the escape?
I don't know.
Why don't you know?
But it's out of medicine needs more 80. I don't know what's going on. Bad joke, but
Blame Canada.
Oh, Canada's fault. They've had it too good for too long, Cam.
That's fucking right.
But the Ghost Recon games and just Tom Clancy games in general used to mean something. Now it's just a brand name on nonsense.
Oh yeah, you like Tom Clancy as a brand used to have a whole lot behind it. I mean, I tell you that playing fucking all the Ghost Recon games
and the Splinter Cell games,
the Rainbow Six games. I mean,
that was it. Rainbow Six was the other one I was blanking on.
Yeah, all these games, and they were especially for what they were pretty much the standard. I would say if you wanted something more than just the mindless Call of Duty shit, they were the standard for your tactical games.
Yeah.
And it all got pissed away by Ubisoft. And I would argue a lot of it happened once Tom Clancy actually died, and they were like, "Hey, we can do whatever the fuck we want with this now."
A little. I mean, it's not that he was really, as far as I'm aware, I don't know if
he wasn't hugely in terms of like directing this shit, but still.
Yeah, like he wasn't like super attached to it, but like even so, and for anyone just for context, like who and what Tom Clancy like as a brand and who he was, like all the stuff with Jack Ryan, like the character Jack Ryan, like Hunt for Red October, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, that's all Tom Clancy stuff. Those are all based on his books. Like that's the thing. Like his entire shtick was military, real world, like geopolitical thrillers and action. Yeah, you see it in those movies, and you see it in those games too. And like the original Splinter Cell games, even the original Ghost Recon games. But this one was just like a complete mess. Like people were calling it Ghost Recon Breaking Point because of how bad it was. Like performance-wise, how bad it was, but also the monetization. If I recall, Angry Joe's review of the game literally had their skit for it was making fun of the Billy Mays commercial. Do you remember the Billy Mays guy who did all those commercials, like the infomercials?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they had one of the guys that do that channel. They were pretending to be Billy Mays, selling you all of the assets, like skins and weapons or whatever that were in the game. It was a really funny skit, but it's like it was unfortunately realistic, and that was just the monetization of that game was horrible.
Oh yeah. Well, one thing to note too on the note of Splinter Cell. Now, bearing in mind, of course, keep in mind what Ubisoft has put out recently, which what was their last game? It would have been whatever Breaking Point, right?
I think if we're just talking about if we're just talking about Tom Clancy games, I think that was the last one.
I mean just in terms of Ubisoft.
Oh, their most recent game, just in general.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter. But
I mean, I'm gonna search this because now I'm curious.
Yeah, but in terms of Tom Clancy's shit and Splinter Cell shit, apparently, and I just heard of this probably like a month or two ago, and I think I talked about it a little bit then, but apparently Ubisoft is rebooting the Splinter Cell franchise, starting with the original Splinter Cell. They're doing a remake of the original Splinter Cell. Now, of course, bearing in mind, pretty much everything Ubisoft has touched in the last decade or so, they've managed to fucking run into the ground in terms of tactical shooters and shit. Whether we're talking about The Division, I mean, even just games in general, we're talking The Division, Assassin's Creed, Rainbow Six, every single franchise they've got, they've managed to go and make worse and worse for the gaming perspective. Now, the first thing they did say in terms of this Splinter Cell remake, they did say right off the bat, it is not going to be open world. Among other things, that's a breath of fucking fresh air, just because every single fucking thing Ubisoft has, they were like, Assassin's Creed is doing, like, right around Assassin's Creed 2, they're like, open world's so good, everything has to be open world. Every single one of our games, open world. And that's when we saw Ghost Recon go open world and all this other shit. But they said,
yeah. I mean, Ubisoft is known for the open world stuff now because of how often they do it. I believe their last release, one of their games except Rainbow Six has turned open world. Okay, their last release, Tom Clancy wise, was Rainbow Six Extraction. Their last release in general was Trivial Pursuit Live 2. So
yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, I mean, and in between those two was the Ezio collection on Nintendo Switch.
Okay.
But yeah, the last real game they released was Tom Clancy Rainbow Six Extraction.
Yes, but so supposedly with this remake, they said it's not open world. They're bringing back original team members who originally worked on it to work on this new one, and they say, bearing in mind, of course, that's worth as much as the toilet paper you just used earlier today. They've said that they want to do it in the spirit of it being a stealth game first, and they want to do it right, kind of thing. Now, these words are all empty air until we actually go and have something in hand that it actually goes and plays out to what they said, just because so many times we've seen game developers, especially when talking about a already existing franchise, they'll say all the right shit, and then the product you get is utter garbage that has nothing to do with the original franchise.
Right, like the Master Chiefs.
All over what came before.
Right, like the recent Master Chiefs. For anyone who doesn't know,
exactly.
The Halo TV show has. We'll have to talk about this in a different thing, but I just want to mention I never expected to see the Master Chiefs the Master Chief Cheeks, whatever the fuck, naked in officially licensed Halo product. But yeah,
not to mention too, they have him going around without his armor, which
right, like that alone. The fact that he's going around without a helmet is already bad.
Is odd enough. Well, like
now you have him completely.
Bear in mind, in the established lore of the Spartans training and all that shit, they were in armor so much and relied on silent communication so much. Literally, their way of smiling was just throwing a couple fingers up in front of their mouth, like that, because they were, bearing in mind, these are people who, from the age of 6, were trained to be soldiers.
Yeah, they were indoctrinated and trained.
To go and communicate utterly silent, and yet,
Yeah, but of course that's not what it is in the show, because alternate continuity.
And like
bullshit,
I said, I guarantee they're going to throw a romance angle in there, either with the fucking Covenant girl and or with Cortana. Guarantee it's going to happen.
Well, you saw the not, and it looks so much like an adult film parody, doesn't it? That screenshot that I sent you, where it's just Cortana looking at Chief's butt at the Master Cheeks. But yeah, it's a mess, and yeah, they have Cortana like human size, like the hologram isn't like a little tiny hologram that fits in the palm of your hand, right? It's a human sized hologram. So your theory does have merit, and I don't mean like, oh, your theories don't like given the shit quality and all that, I wouldn't be surprised. Disappointed, not surprised, right? That's our tagline.
Nope.
But yeah, that's something we should save for another day, because we can go on hours. Or at the very least make something more cohesive. You were saying about Tom Clancy and the remake.
But yeah, so the too long don't read is just, we've got another Splinter Cell game coming. Realistically, it's probably going to be shit. they're putting words out saying they're going to do it right, but until we have it in hand and those words are proven to be fact, don't trust fucking any of it. No pre-orders. Wait for player reviews.
Yeah, that's honestly, again, take it with a grain of everything you hear, with a grain of salt and all that regarding it.
2 grains.
Honestly,
no, 3.
What do you mean 3? Is it 3 grains of salt?
Yes.
But what if they're those really big grains, or one of those grains where it's like 5 stuck together?
That case, 4.
Take it with a snowflake. That's it. The singular snowflake. Screw all this salt grain shit. Go to this little snowflake. Or like a... Take it with a grain of sugar instead. Anyway, weird analogies aside, the game, honestly, again, it's expect the worst but hope for the best, right? And that's the problem these days. Like whenever I wouldn't say it. I guess it weirds me out that like people react so. Not so strongly, because people are passionate about things like we are about, Halo and Splinter Cell and all this stuff. And strong reactions are normal when we're passionate about something, we see that something being messed with. But it's like I don't know how to put it into words, but the level of reaction some people have to things like, oh, here's a bad game, and they're surprised, right? Like there's a level of surprise shock to them that this thing is bad. In this day and age, it shouldn't be, though. It's unfortunate, and it shouldn't be that way, but you shouldn't be... None of us should be surprised at this point by anything regarding, like, the detrimental quality control on all these products. Whatever game, whatever franchise it be. It's like, oh, so another bad game, like like, oh, this game came out and it's horrible. Not surprised, just disappointed.
Yep.
Like, honestly, you should be surprised when something good comes out, which is honestly what I was surprised about when I saw that Reacher show on Amazon. Because, Amazon, of all places. But
Reacher, I barely know her.
Really had to reach for that one, didn't you? And Reacher's kind of like a similar, like a more domestic, non-geopolitical version of. It's got a similar storytelling. It's fancy stuff. Similar, but not the same. Which is good because it's not just ripping off. But yeah, it's all these, like the remake, when they're doing that Dead Space remake too. That's the problem too, is everything's a remake these days, and we know why. It's because why take a risk and create something new that may not do well over let's just resell the same thing that everyone loves, and it's a guaranteed success even if it's a bad thing. We know it'll do well based on the brand recognition. And there's also another reason, and that is they're just not creative or just have the inability to think of making something new. So they just remake other people's work. In either case, we end up with...
they know it makes them money.
Right. But in either case, the result in the process is the same. We're getting more of the same, and the same is less. And it's just, we're not getting anything new, we're not getting anything creative, we're not getting anything that's innovative. Which is crucial in any video game, right? Like innovation on the last one. Make a game, then you make a sequel. The sequel better be better than the last one. At the very least, on par and tell a different story, right? Otherwise, it's just the same thing over and over. But the problem is, this isn't exclusive to a single IP or even a single medium of entertainment. it's across the board. You know, video games, movies, TV shows. Like, you know, not to go into the Halo rabbit hole here, but or the slipstream, but the Halo TV show, from the one episode I saw, because I finally saw an episode on Thursday night. I was teaching someone some Star Citizen stuff, and all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, let's watch it. You know, MST3K it, right? Like, let's poke fun as we watch it, and it wasn't funny. It was torturous. I was subjected to torture, and I will find a way to get that guy back at some time. But while I plot my revenge, it was horrible. Like, this is the first episode I saw. I believe it was 3, and it's like, in it you just see buck-ass naked Master Chief and Master Cheeks, as everyone calls him now, and freaking worse CGI than Jeff Bridges in Tron Legacy. Granted, Tron Legacy is a good movie, but, you know, and I love that movie, but I'm not blind to, hey, the de-aging CGI in that film wasn't the best, especially back in 2010.
I thought for at least the time.
No.
I thought it was fine.
For the time it was great, and even today, if you rewatch it, some scenes it is good. But in scenes such as the beginning, when he's leaving the Sam's room after telling him the Tron bedtime story, and the one specific close-up shot during the speech towards the end of the film with Clue, it looked pretty bad. Aside from that, looked good. Like,
I'll say this.
But Cortana's like 10 times worse.
Do more stuff with Tron.
I would love some Tron stuff. Of course, the problem is Disney owns Tron, so anything they do anything they really do until, you know, new leadership or just Disney just decides to stop doing all this political bullshit. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good at all. You know what I mean? Like, it's better that maybe we don't get anything Tron for a little while until all this shit blows over, if it ever does.
Maybe.
But what I was saying was, Cortana in that show is worse than, like, any CGI de-aging or, you know, CGI bringing back dead actors type stuff. Like, people complain about that sort of thing. It looked horrible here. Like, it's almost like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit, except it worked there because it was just a freaking cartoon in a 3D world. But imagine if they had Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but instead of it just being a 2D cartoon, they tried to make the cartoon look like a 3-dimensional cartoon that fit in that world, but still look like a cartoon. That's essentially what they did. It's horrible. There are clips on YouTube that essentially just show scenes of her in the show. But yeah, my point was, what I was getting at was how the Halo show, if I didn't know better, I would say has the same writers as the modern day Star Trek stuff, and really like any other show in existence today, or any other movie for that matter. And I know better, and it's not the same writers. But it might as well be, because it's all the same shit, and that's the problem, is that everything's the same these days. And by the way, all the predictions we've made on the show are right. To no one's surprise. But yeah, the whole Tom Clancy remake, Dead Space remake they're doing.
Everything's all remakes.
Yeah, it's all remakes. They're going to do a Resident Evil 4 remake, although at least in the defense of Capcom's Resident Evil stuff, the remake, save for Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 2's remake was really well received and apparently really, really good. Resident Evil 3's remake, most of the complaints I've heard about it aren't the remake itself, but that it was essentially a DLC for Resident Evil 2's remake sold as a completely different game. And full priced, of course. If someone knows more, because I'm not a Resident Evil guy, so anyone who knows more about it and knows more about those games, feel free to correct us. Not my wheelhouse. Yeah, it's all remakes or prequels or sequels, and I have no problem with sequels of like in beloved IP, right? Like, oh, here's a new, whatever franchise, doesn't really matter at this point. But it's got to be done well, right? And at this point, I don't anyone to make sequels to any IPs I enjoy. So I'd rather just have something new. If it's bad, then who cares, right? It flopped. It was a failed experiment. But if it's good, hey, you just created a new thing and it's fun and it's great. Now people can enjoy it, and then you can make sequels off of that.
We don't make things for people to enjoy. Get out of here.
They don't make things good. So who's going to enjoy them anyways? Enjoy the things they make. Also, apparently they did a new Kingdom of Hearts or something?
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, Kingdom of Hearts.
Not Kingdom of
I'm not a huge Kingdom, or really a huge Nintendo guy in general.
How dare you?
Dare. I dare to dare.
You dirty penguin.
I'm sorry, it's the oil from... There's a ship that flew by. They didn't have enough hulls. Spilled oil.
Uh-huh.
Why? Why didn't we have 6,001 hulls?
Because fuck you.
Yeah, I really don't have anything else. Pretty shorter episode. Mostly just Star Citizen news.
Yeah, super
but yeah, back to that. PTU is open. Reiterate.
to all backers.
All backers, anyone who's a backer. So guys like us who have the game. If you want to play in the PTU, you can. But fair warning, it is the PTU. Although according to data, it seems to be good. And maybe in like 2 weeks or so, we'll get the live build. And next month, I would say like a month from now, like a month from this week or next week, we're probably going to get Invictus Fleet Week. So there'll be a free fly as part of that. English words.
Yep. Are you having trouble with the language?
I'm having trouble with the languages. Sorry, I'm just watching the gameplay on the little arcade cabinets. I'm just like, I'm getting distracted by our own content.
Look, a distraction.
I'm just watching myself play Pillar of Autumn on the screen right now. I mean, I'm not playing it right now, but it's like the little recording months ago. But yeah, the free fly should be sometime next month. So, anyone who has an account, what?
Early next month.
Is it early?
Usually it's within like the second week or so.
Well, yeah, it's the second week of April right now. So.
Yeah, like I said, early next month.
Right, but I said next month. Okay, I thought I said in a month.
Yes.
Yeah. 4 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Give or take. Oh, not give or take. Just give more. So 4 to 5 weeks.
Take more.
Take more. Take all the weeks. No more weeks left. But yeah, it'll be a free fly. There's probably you'll be able to see all the cool naval fleet, like the Idris will be flying around along with the Javelin, and if they do it again, the Bengal carrier.
Scorpius is probably going to be flying around too.
Yeah.
Because of course it will.
By that point, we're probably going to have all the ships that were originally slated for 3.17. So.
Very
and
likely.
Also, there's a for anyone who enjoys frivolously spending money on JPEGs on the RSI website, there will be a sale, so you can buy more spaceships.
No.
Chris Roberts bust into the room. Hey kids, want to buy some spaceships? Yeah, that's really it. Oh, what's this? Oh wow. Well, I guess at some point later this month or next month we're gonna have to do another Activision episode.
More of that. What?
More shenanigans are popping up. New employment announcements regarding like the heads of X department.
They're just more bullshit.
More bullshit, but also there's also like more legal-ish, like settlement with this lawsuit. More updates and such on other ongoing lawsuits. But apparently, in-game ad platform Gadsby raises $8 million. Okay. Kind of feel sick just reading the word in-game ad.
You. Well, I'll say this. If you have a game, like let's say if you have a game like say GTA 5, or a game where you've got okay, so you've got your environment, and let's say in your environment, or like let's say the old Rainbow Six Vegas games, and in your game, if it's like GTA 5, if you have it to where the in-game billboards have real world advertisements on there for whatever the case might be, and every couple of months they swap them out as they get new advertisers on there. Or in the case like Rainbow Six Vegas or Vegas 2, like you would have signs, posters, those environmental little things like that.
Oh yeah, but that's like in-universe ads, yeah.
Little shit in the game that I wouldn't have a problem with.
No, I'm talking like fucking commercial.
Yeah, no, that kind of shit, fuck no.
Like what they
want.
2K was actually doing this for like here with their NBA games, like NBA 2K19, and I think again with 21, they were having full on freaking like commercials in the game. And again, this is a game you pay $60 for, and in the 2021 version, $70 for. There's freaking commercials in it. Like, I can listen, like, I don't agree with it, but I can listen to someone justify a free game having ads in the form of, like, an unskippable commercial, like 2K was doing. Because that was what they had. They had, like, a literal commercial. But with this, no, you're paying for the game. Back in the olden times, way back when, back in the good old days, you had commercials that had games in it. Now you have games with commercials in it. We really do live in a time of corporate consumerism, like to the max.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Want to call it before we just start rambling on about things?
Blame Canada.
Oh darn Canardia. And copyright claim my chair creaking again.
Freak, almost as much as my joints.
But can you crack your joints at will? I said, okay. Yeah, next week we'll talk about the Squadron 42 monthly studio report. And whatever else news breaks out between now and next Monday. But yeah, same bat time, same bat channel. Monday, Monday night, Eastern, 7:15 p.m. Eastern.
Monday.
Monday. Monster Truck Rally. Watch everything crash and burn.
Oh, baby.
This Monday on WQRX TV. No. WKRP Cincinnati. But yeah, we got the merches, things that we make, but you can give us money. I've been thinking for watch party stuff, maybe if we ever decide to do that sort of thing, we can create a Patreon. Get real, all this. In the meantime, what?
Wee-wee?
Get the wheeling and dealing.
Wee-wee?
If you want a shirt that says "Shut Up Camp," please say so in the comment section below.
You think that will stop me?
No, but it'd be entertaining. I have been thinking of writing up outro for all the video stuff, and then just having either you or Data record it. Like, I'll just write it up, but one of you have to say it. I ain't saying it.
You think I'm going to sound any better?
I mean,
Speaking
yes,
of
by default, you already sound better than I do. So yes.
Well, we all think we that.
Oh yes, but I mean, you sound more. You definitely sound more coherent than I do.
Well, only on Tuesdays.
All
but
right, so we'll just move it to Tuesdays then. Okay.
There was a joke I remember hearing to where was asking why did the KGB always send out agents in threes whenever they went on assignment? One could read, one could write, and the third kept an eye on the two intellectuals.
That's great.
And more relevant than ever.
Yeah, especially these days, when every location on the internet has some form of censorship based on what you say, write, whatever it is, depending on if it's a video, audio, or text-based communication platform. Right, like if YouTube doesn't like it when you say words like Nazi or other.
And we're banned again.
Exactly. Oddly enough, whenever we talk about, like the COVID-19 or the vaccine stuff, or, even just say the word Nazi, things are fine. Like, those videos don't get touched. It's the videos that show a few seconds of something, or my chair makes a creaking noise, or we make our own audio, like, displaying one of Data's original tracks, and all of a sudden we're hit with copyright claims, and it's like, this is our original content.
Get fucked.
I'm the one making these creaks. I can creak to a beat. Okay, maybe not, but also I was just leaning back and forth in my chair and just to try to make a creaking sound.
You monster.
Sorry, I'm playing with fire.
And that's why you get fucked.
Playing with fire. Although I did finally get the video our Halo TV show video we made. It is no longer blocked, so that's good.
For now.
No, it won't be.
For now.
The copyright claim that was blocking it has went through and was accepted. The dispute, I mean, for the copyright claim is back up. Oh wow. Apparently we have 200 subscribers. Cool. Do something for that?
No way. 200 people actually listen to this shit? Come on.
I mean, doesn't necessarily mean 200 people listen. Just means 200 people subscribed.
Yeah, fair enough.
I really hope I'm not insulting people by saying that.
I am.
Hoping, or that you're insulting them?
Why not both?
That's a good point. I would be surprised if we actually had 200 people actually do this shit. Two seemingly old fogies just ranting on about how the good old days were the good old days.
That's right.
I mean, that's pretty much what our show is.
It was uphill both ways, and that was the ways we liked it.
Back when I was young, we had to go to school in the snow, and we didn't have jackets, and we had to wear the stupid sandals and no shoes that were just tennis rackets strapped to your feet. I'm just kidding. I was never
And we
a kid.
blamed Canada.
No, Canada didn't exist yet.
There's that. There is that.
We didn't have TV. For entertainment, we had to click 2 rocks together. Or hit someone on the foot with a rock. So high-pitched singing noise.
No, we had 2 sticks and a rock, and we had to share the rock.
Buck up, boy. You're one lucky Marine. Still can't believe that. Of all the freaking characters, they didn't put Johnson in.
And it's like
it's not even a contest.
This is your perfect poster boy.
I know, especially with the whole political correctness or whatever bullshit. You know, like whatever you want, whatever label you want to put on it. Political correctness, woke, this, agenda, narrative, identity politics, whatever you want to call it. It's all the same shit at this point. But yeah, like Johnson would be your poster boy for that, and he is literally many fans' favorite character.
Yep. But that doesn't
like
matter.
other people love really between him and the Arbiter for like who's the most favorite, like the favorite character of the franchise. It's him or the Arbiter. For pretty much most people. I mean, he's the guy who's with you with throughout most, the important games. Dear humanity, we regret being alien assholes, bastards. We regret that. What was it? We regret being alien bastards.
And we regret the Cordis blew up our.
No, that was the third one. There's we regret coming to Earth, and we most definitely regret that the Cordis blew up our ready-ass fleet. Hoorah! Grid Kilo 212 is hot. Recommend immediate mission abort. Your call, Sarge. We're going in. Get tactical, Marines. He just had all the dialogue. It was great.
Oh, he did. And it was
I love how even the writers and the developer commentary are just like, yeah, we just gave Johnson all the good one-liners, didn't we? He's got all the lines.
Yeah, back in the day when games were good.
Oh man, yeah. Back when video games were because remember, late '90s, early 2000s, video games telling an actual story was new and experimental, and like the fact that they were able to do it and do it so well. They did that voodoo that they do so well.
Indeed.
And now they don't do the voodoo that. Now it's
they don't do the voodoo at all.
No, now they do the doo-doo that doo-doo. Because it is successful, even though it's not good. You always have people that'll buy it. There's always, with every IP or just in general any audience, there's always those that will watch it or buy it, whatever, give it money and attention based on just the IP. And then there's some that are just like it's their job to do it. You can't really blame them for that, right? Like they have their channel or their reviewing thing or whatever it is. Still, then like it's just a mess. You look at it today and you look at it yesterday, and it's like, wow, and yesterday versus today, not even a contest.
Nope. And that's why I still blame Canada.
You think if we say that enough times, Coolios will just pop in and stop blaming Canada?
You motherfucker!
It's just like, stop blaming us. We didn't do it. We only did it once.
And once was too much.
That one time set it all downhill.
Maybe 3 much.
6 much.
Oh, yawn.
Well, that's yeah, that's it. I think
That's a wrap.
we're never. This is why I want to write that outro. I'm gonna make Data just record it. Screw it. He's our sound design guy.
Data, when the fuck did this happen?
What? That he became our sound design
Becoming
guy.
the sound design guy.
I mean, he did make a theme that we just haven't used.
Sure, but yeah, my point stands, I think.
Well, no time like the present. We'll make him sound design guy now. It's his wheelhouse. I get it. No, we'll literally get Julios to come out of Canada just to do. We'll free him. We'll give him I want to say we'll give him American freedom, but that just sounds so wrong.
Fuck you.
America.
Get fucked.
The modern interpretation of that old jingle. Yep. Mouse just disappeared for a sec. So yeah. Alright, I'm just gonna end.